And we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Alien Spaceship stream. You could be watching from anywhere around the country or the world, and I really appreciate it. Coming to you from the Spaceship Studios from a galaxy far, far away. Alright, so now what we're going to do is switch over to the other window. Alright, hello, it is I, Alien Spaceship. I hope everybody's been having a good day, good evening, good afternoon. We are going to be talking about the boyfriend murder trial that we have been seeing today. Is this trial has been a wild one. Now, we haven't seen a trial like this in a very long time. And hello, Michael and Slack, good to see you both. I'm glad that you're able to come, Slack, to the stream. And Michael says, see my post about watching the pretrial plea deal. We can certainly watch that. That's fine. So they were having some witnesses today, and we just saw the sun. Oh, volume's a little bit low. Okay. Thank you. Alright, I think it should be better now. I had something else connected to it. Alright, so hopefully I'm a bit louder than I was before. Okay, so Michael says, did you see the post about watching the pretrial plea deal? Yeah, we could certainly watch that. That is fine. You pull that up. The son's testimony, he seemed from our observation of him that he seemed nervous. He seemed kind of falling under pressure. Generally speaking, he talked very low, and he seemed like he was kind of clocking out, in a sense, like not being completely present physically, mentally present. And it is a stressful situation to be in, on the stand, in the hot seat. And he was claiming that he did not have his father murdered, and allegedly, according to the camera evidence on the house, he would be seen as not having anything to do with it. It proved that he wasn't there at the time this happened. It really just leaves the defendant that was present. But I do think, from what I've seen, the prosecution is really grinding hard to try to prove their case. Then they had the forensic... Well, hello, Fifi. Good to see you. Then there's this forensic analysis that happened where they were talking about the body, how that works, how the evidence work with that. Like, they continue with the witness from the previous day before. Oh, you're still catching up on the case. Okay, yeah. We had this juggling of crossing witnesses back and forth. There was this juggling of one witness to another, not witnesses, but a recross, rather. They're crossing back and forth is the right word. You had them really fascinatingly and also, shout out to Fifi, good to see you. I thought that was quite intriguing, because usually we don't see a cross that goes like that. Oh, hello, Remy. Good evening. Welcome to the stream. All right. And Michael says, sorry, but it came off as a big act. Cue up how Colin testified right out of the same playbook. Okay, thank you for your take on the case. Okay. I remember a chat were making jokes about what the son was doing, the way he was acting on the stand. It was quite ridiculous, where, they had to put another microphone there. Oh, hello, Nemo. Good to see you. Welcome to the stream. I haven't had you here. So right now we're talking about a trial that we're watching today, the boyfriend murder trial. We saw that, and we're making some commentary about what we saw today. All right. Oh, howdy, Joyce. Good evening. Welcome to the stream. Yeah, so definitely it was a wild day. That defense that he has is the same defense that Okay, Fifi said, What's the topic? I'm listening to Case and typing this chat. Okay, so Fifi, what we're talking about is a review about what happened today in the court. And as we have more information, and we're going to making an analysis about the case as it's progressing. That's what we are doing. That is the topic for today. Now, I'm going to probably play some clips from the trial a couple of days, not a couple of days, yeah, from yesterday that we weren't able to play because they didn't edit it yet. Alright, Remy says LC is still terrible at hiding comments. Oh, okay. The chat's going so fast, I don't always see everything. Okay, well, if there's some comments that aren't supposed to be there, hopefully they can get that settled out. Alright. Let's go here. Oh, yeah. I'm going to put this link in this direction right there. Yeah, and then we will react to that one because it's a full clip of something we saw yesterday. We're going to save that one, put it down here. And now we're going to get the review out. Okay. Yeah, and it's the same attorneys that Telus used. This is the same defense. Which it's quite, as I said, it's Robert Baker married this woman. He molested her, and then he married her later when she was an adult. They fired all their moderators at LLC, just encourages people to use the block button. Kathy's the producer. Yeah, that is true. They did do that. Yes, there's a time, when they had all the mods in the chat, and then they took the mods away, and then they have Kathy still and Alexandra McDonald, but yeah, it's certainly when you don't have the mods, it'll certainly encourage your behavior. All right. And good evening to you, Shaga. Okay. Remy said, I said hello to so many, they couldn't see me. Okay. I just rented a movie, Crime and Law Trials. A witness gets redirected over and over, starring Nikki Fairchild and Tom Terrell. Scared. Hilarious. Yeah, she works there. Yes. Yeah, Kathy Rusin is the producer. She knew Addie and her mods. So Addie and Kathy Rusin were together in the beginning when they were starting the channel. Okay, and so with the testimony today, I wasn't expecting to see so much recrosses happen. That's something I didn't expect. Although with this trial, I would expect that something wild to happen. He still was. They looked like they really were fighting to get the opinion of the jury on their side. Oh, the male lead investigator. Yes. Addie, Linda, Mull, etc. All right. In today's trial, in the witness testimony, the day included the testimony from a crime scene analyst and Henderson police detective who was involved in the initial investigation, which is important to question these people because they're directly involved with the case. And the beheadings of people is completely uncalled for and wrong to have. So whoever's responsible needs to be locked up. And the defense will plant the seed that the son had a motive. They kept on saying that they were having falling out, and that he would have a motive to want to delete his father, delete his father, and that was seeds being planted in the jury, but the evidence would show that he was not around because of the security cameras. He just was kind of nervous on the stand, it seemed. But can someone type the topic in the chat? I'm listening to it. Oh, okay. Hello, misconstrue. Okay. I will type it. Right. Now, okay, anyway, so, and he seemed, it's also how you present yourself and the things that are unheard. That is another interesting thing to talk about. Like, when things are unheard, the things that you don't say are very important, like I said yesterday. So yeah. Which the son was very important because we talked about him yesterday when we were just giving you all just a general overview about what the trial would be about. And it's good to see you, misconstrue, Judy. I'm glad to have you here. That is what we, got to see. But yeah, no matter what they plant, as I want to make clear, they're not going to necessarily prove he did it because of the cameras. The next part is the other conclusion where she was the one that did it, it seems. Unless there was some other third party that could have wanted to do this, that is basically what it is. Oh, her blonde wig. Yeah. Yeah, Remy, I don't know if you saw the courtroom meltdown she had. That was something really quite wild. You haven't seen that yet, Remy, I don't think. I'll have to go and show you, because Kathy just put the link in the chat. We'll go and show you that. Okay, so let's see. Mary said her blonde wig, watching in the eye of the storm, but listening. Oh, okay, thank you, Joyce. Thank you. Hey, Fifi says, well, from what I just saw, the defense tore the CSI lady up. The only one with nails, I thought it was fire. Okay. Yeah, and defense is a good defense. They almost got Tellus a plea deal. But Tellus is such a... If he wouldn't have, done the stuff he did, he could have probably gotten a different sentence. Although it's good he's going to be locked up, of course. We don't want him getting out after what he did to Mr. Gurman. But, yeah, that defense team is good. That defense team is a good team with the little they had to work with. Yeah, so I'll show you this meltdown that happened. Okay. We're going to put the window like this, like so. Okay, woman accused of beheading boyfriend goes into heated exchange with judge. Alright. So I'm playing this for Remy. She hasn't seen it yet. Okay. Put it on the screen. Alright, this is her when she was... she was renouncing the plea and was going to go to trial instead. So this is the full scene of it right here. Alright, and Shaza says the state hung that poor CSI woman out dry to be opened the window for defense to distract her medical testimony. Oh, I noticed during the stream today that the state opened up a lot of doors. The state opened up lots of doors. I noticed that as well. Yeah. And they have a good case. They just need to be more wise how they handle the situation. Yeah, definitely. Crazy. Okay, here we go.
At this moment, yeah. I know right now no one in the family is going to believe me. I know right now no one in the family feels that I'm innocent at any point, and I understand that.
This was supposed to be a sentencing hearing that quickly went off the rails.
The way that they manipulated and altered and deleted things is wrong. They should not be able to do it. And they have. And for you to be able to look me in the eye knowing that the things are altered and...
You pled guilty, man.
Mr. Michael, you are not to address the state. You are to address me. You are.
You're
addressing Mr. Giordano. You are going to address me. What do you want me to say? What do you want to say to me?
So why is the Las Vegas story? We're really just scratching the surface. Thanks for...
All right, let's see. This is basically the parts, but we're going to go this way. All right, let's see if that works.
Concerning which supports the life tale is that the defendant had a corollary child abuse case that pre-existed this. We reviewed, Ms. Griffith and I reviewed the minutes in that case, and it appears that 2 days after she murdered and decapitated her ex, she appeared in court in front of another judge in this courthouse and made representations that she was staying out of trouble, and obviously had that on her conscience at the time, walked right back out of the courthouse, and then ultimately was developed as our suspect and arrested. We take this case very seriously, obviously the family does as well. We believe the sentence reflects the gravity of the crime, so we will submit it. We do have some updates on CTS, which was wrong in the PSI.
Correct, I calculated the credit at 455 days as of today.
Okay, that sounds correct.
Because I calculated it in regards to she was on probation when this offense occurred. She then got that sentence imposed. She was released on that sentence, so she started accumulating the credit on that day. And I have it at 455 days as of today.
Yes, and we also...
Ms. Michaels, what, if anything, would you like to say before I pronounce sentence against you?
There's so much I want to say. Jonathan was very special, very unique, and I know no matter what I say at this moment, I know right now no one in the family is going to believe me. I know right now no one in the family feels that I'm innocent at any point, and I understand that. But I can actually prove my innocence. I actually can. And I'm not gonna stop fighting to prove my innocence. I have more than enough, and Jonathan deserves to have the actual person who's guilty behind bars. I was helping Jonathan. I can show that I was trying to help him, and this, I know, is hurting the family, and I can see it in your faces, and I know your hearts are angry, and they should be, and I'm angry for you. And this is not fair to you. This has been dragging out for almost 2 years. It's not fair to you, and it's not fair to his children, any of them. And it's not right. It really isn't. It's not. I've seen so much that it's just terrible. The way that they manipulated and altered and deleted things is wrong. They should not be able to do it. And they have. And for you to be able to look me in the eye knowing that the things are altered and...
You pled guilty, man.
Ms. Michaels, you are not to address the state. You are to address me. You are. You're addressing Mr. Giordano. You are going to address me. What do you want me to say? What do you want to say to me?
My apologies. I wasn't trying to address the state directly. It's just, I was told. I just told one thing after another. And I truly believed that we were going to do the right thing, and it just didn't happen. I am so sorry for all of this, but I am so sorry. But I didn't do this, and I didn't know this would end up like this. I really didn't. And I will forever apologize to the family. But I don't know how to fix any of this anymore. I don't. I keep listening to what everyone tells me is the best thing to do. Just do this and it'll work out this way, and follow this advice and we'll do this. And I keep listening to the people because they keep saying this is the best advice. it doesn't turn out the way they tell me it will. And it just gets worse and worse. And I don't know what to do anymore.
Judge, I'm not comfortable with this record. I'm willing to let her out of her plea if the court is inclined.
I don't know how to face this.
All right.
It's just, this wouldn't be appropriate.
I completely understand.
Let's go to trial.
Mr. Giordani. All right. Ms. Michael, Judge Mr. Giordani says that he's willing to let you out of your plea and he's willing to try this case. And you understand that he's willing to try this case on an open murder. So a jury can convict you of a first-degree murder. Do you understand that? Or do you want to talk to Mr. Patrick about it?
I don't want to talk to Mr. Patrick. He didn't listen to anything I said.
Miss Michaels, I need you to understand what I'm saying to you and answer my question.
Yes.
Do you want to withdraw your plea and go to trial?
Yes, please.
All right. This plea is going to be withdrawn. Ms. Patrick, I need you to have some discussions with your client about...
Your Honor, I've moved to withdraw at this time. This case needs to go back to the appointed counsel.
Miss
I will-
Michaels, hold on just one second. Miss Michaels, you need to conduct yourself like this is a courtroom. If you cannot do that, then they're going to remove you because I still have business to conduct.
Yes.
Do you understand? Mr. Patrick?
Judge, respectfully, I move to withdraw and have this case sent back to Office of Appointed Counsel. I am not in a position to accept appointment on this case should it go to trial at this time.
All right. All right, I'm going to have to reach out to the Office of Appointed Counsel and get her a lawyer that's going to be appointed with the understanding this case is 2 years old. This case is not going to sit stagnant and wait around for a trial. So I'm going to reach out to Ms. Bush myself and have a discussion with her in regards to the appointment of counsel because this is not going to be, this case has been delayed extensively, and this case is not going to further be delayed so that there is no justice for everybody.
Yes, Your Honor.
So a lot has changed in the
Okay, so yeah, Remy, that is what happened in her panic attack she had. Quite wild. Yeah, so it's some background, Remy. She was with Robert Baker from the Cementelli trial. She was married to him. And then, she basically did the same thing that happened to her. And you see how, out of hysterical she acts, kind of similar to, Chaz pointed out with Donna Allison. And this is where her plea deal was revoked, and she was supposed to have a plea, and she would have been locked up, but she chose to go to trial, and now that is a trial that we see. You're welcome, Remy. Yeah, I know, right? It's certainly a circus, indeed. All right. Okay, so, Judge, this case is 2 years old. Why is that defendant's fault? That is the state. Yeah. Certainly the state would be responsible for these types of things. Indeed. Now, it seems like the state is, I don't know, never seems rather sketchy too. Yeah, he was just he seemed like he was on something. To be that, he was so calm that you have to really listen closely to hear what he has to say. Yeah, he does seem questionable, what his intentions are, what he is exactly. From the evidence that is shown, I don't think he killed the father, but, he seems like he wants to hide something. Maybe he's embarrassed about the relationship he had with the person he was with. It's kind of awkward that he did that. It's going with the dad's lover. It's kind of strange. So he was on the stand and kind of not wanting to talk about that from what I was seeing because he was lying about some things, and then he doesn't understand the question. It's kind of like with YSL where they don't recall. Sometimes they'll say they didn't recall, and this one he doesn't understand the question. So And Chad was saying he just doesn't understand anything. So yeah, it's certainly a shitty situation with like the son. And I do think in spite of the case that they have, the defense is doing pretty good with their case, and the state is opening up doors that don't need to be opened. Which came true. Tom says, I wish. Funny. Okay. Alright. Alright. And the defendant. Yeah, so, Michaels. Yeah, he was in a relationship and was married to Willett. That was what I heard. Today? Alright, so the day included testimony from crime scene analyst Henderson police detective who was involved in the initial investigation. We had the victim's son testify today. Shaza says, I think the state is opening these doors on purpose just to let the defense waste their time and look silly. Ah, that's a good one, Shaza. That's a good one. Very well done. Very well done. So that is a good tactic, a battle tactic, is to control the rhythm of the outcome. So, and I would think with the state would know what they're doing in a sense where the evidence is clearly there to support their side, as we discussed last night. This other point of view is where, like what you're saying, that they're controlling the rhythm of having these doors open so the defense could be predictable patterns of response for them to go down this rabbit hole, and then later on they regret it later where it just makes them look foolish because what is there is there. It's if there's like if the sun is outside and the sky, it's in the sky. No matter what people can do, there's a sun in the sky, right, when it's sunny outside. So that's an interesting analysis that they may be doing on purpose. Thank you. Let's see, and the victim's son testified, as we said, and Devere Willett, the victim's son, defendant husband, also took this. Okay, I could say it a little bit slower. The victim's son and the defendant's husband also took the stand. The defense has pointed the finger at him as a potential killer, suggesting that he had motive because his father was taking his wife's moving to their home. Yeah, that is basically what the defense is trying to argue. Like, discrediting the CSI woman, it won't mean anything once the ME testifies. Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, it's a good point of view right there. Remy said thought life. Yeah, exactly. Because... Right. Kind of like with Tellus himself, where his defense was that somebody framed him. It's similar to that, but all the evidence was in his house. And with all the evidence in his house, it's obvious that he did it or was neglectful about why there were some strange things in his house that were part of a crime scene. Hello, Efrog. Good to see you, buddy. Welcome to the stream. We're talking about a trial that is pretty popular right now in the trial world. And, yeah, so good to see you, Efog. Alright, and in this case, they're trying to argue a similar tactic that they use with Tellus, as in it's the same defense, that some third party did it. Well, I guess it's good in this situation they had cameras, because with the cameras there, they could know who was there and who wasn't there. Right. Okay. The evidence presented, the prosecution highlighted the inconsistent statements Michaels made to the police, including the polygraph test that she failed, after which she admitted to admitting Willett with a blunt object. Evidence seized from Michael's home, including Willett's wallet, car wrap, and plastic bags, and her underwear drawer was discovered. And that's a way to tell sometimes if someone is lying, if there's inconsistencies in what they're saying. They're not all the time, but it certainly is an indicator. And she failed a polygraph test. Now, people can trick a polygraph, where they're not the most reliable source because people can think of something else and it can trigger it to another type of memory. They usually use it to prove to a lawyer that you're not lying, but it's usually frowned upon as not a greatest method to see if it's something is true or not. And, key and central evidence of the smaller items were also important to have as well. All right, Judy, good night to you. Thank you for hanging out with us. Take care. All right, and this is the defense counter argument. All right, the defense has maintained that Michaels was manipulated by law enforcement during interrogations and that evidence was tampered with, though the judge had previously ruled against excluding the police interviews. Interesting. I remember the judge not the judge, the defense attorney seemed more, he was very serious. Remember when he said, "I see"? When he said that, "Oh, hello, Regina, scared." Yeah. That is, so shout out to you, Regina. And Michael says, "Alien, here's my problem with the defense." He asked DeVere, "Didn't you leave the house after 2 a.m.?" Then inferred possible camera video. Defense never produced evidence of that. Exactly. Like what Shaza was saying, how the state may be setting a trap for the defense to be in predictable patterns of response to make it foolish, because you have to prove what they're saying. Because otherwise it'll just be speculation. Because the burden of proof needs to be there for something to be confirmed as, like what happened. Now, defense very serious and really, questioning him. I remember he was they're crossing back and forth. That was just showing the intense. I didn't know that they're able to do that, because usually we see one or two crosses, but this one was consistent. Now, the state was was more lighthearted. That's another way. The way they present themselves. The defense attorney, he seemed very kind of menacing. The state seemed more laid back, where they seem more confident in their case than the other group. Okay, you're on the defense testimony. Okay. Now, so yeah, I could see where you're talking about, Michael, with the holes in narrative about it. All right. And she was certainly expresses erratic behavior. The idea of pleading insane could have been an option for her, because she certainly is insane. Because remember, she could have taken the plea deal and been locked up for 15 years, but now she could be locked up for life now if she's not able to prove her case. All right. So, now, chat, do you all think the son, like what some people in the chat think, do you all think that he was shady? You think he was nervous about being on the stand, that maybe the defense was trying to make him look a certain way that he really isn't? I'd be interested to know any additional thoughts about that you all have. Because sometimes with the art of speech, it can make it look like it was something that it isn't. Or maybe he is shady and and he exposed himself. Let's see. All right. And it really is something I think can go either way. he was very, calm, but too calm, and this, much more calm than he should have been. All right, but as we have further witnesses, we will maybe it'll tip it one way or another because it's nice seeing it as the trial has progressed. Now going to this part. All right. All right. Shaza says, I think he's evasive about stuff, but I don't think he was involved yet. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, because I think with the state, they have to, they have to prove their case, the defense. But they haven't really done that yet. And she says, sorry to misconstrue. I don't know if anything happened or not. I don't know between them. Okay. All right. Oh, yeah, evasive and stuff. Because, there is some uncomfortable topics that they were talking about with him. And he didn't really, talk about things that made him feel awkward. But, yeah, he was very clear he didn't want to kill his father. And he didn't do it. The other part of it was that they're asking him, did he want his father, the woman, to be, incarcerated? And he was pausing, and they're asking him a different way. And he said, yeah, after he figured out what happened, he wanted her to be locked up. Yeah. Now, it's normal. Anybody would want that to be if somebody, murdered their father. Anybody would feel that way. Definitely. Evasive, maybe due to the pick. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Okay. Fifi says evasive, maybe due to the pick. She's gone. All right. Shaza says, also his girlfriend was in the gallery. That must have been extra uncomfortable. Oh. Yeah, with his girlfriend in the gallery, that will make it very uncomfortable because they were showing pictures and showing things and talking about stuff that he would be cringing about and he wants to keep, hidden. But it's out in public all over the world now. So yeah, that could be a reason why he's more defensive about it. All right. So yeah, we'll see the state is making a very clever way of masquerading the case to trip up the defense. Interesting. Okay, let's go here. Oh, Elaine, thank you for the super chat. And Elaine says, hello, the loon of the house. Hello. Okay. Yes, Elaine, welcome to the chat. We appreciate you here with us as we are discussing this wild day in court. Yes, it is Elaine. We are with us and the chat. Hello, the loon is in the house. Yeah, okay. All right, and Posh, Shalza says, I didn't pick up any testimony about the girlfriend. I made a great joke about the picture and got distracted. Oh, okay. Yeah, I get it. But yeah, if that is true, and I believe there's truth to that, this girlfriend of his would, or anybody that he would know, he would certainly feel if she's there or not, or is there or whatever, This would cause serious embarrassment to him and complete cringe, and that would explain why he's retractful about being on the stand. Yeah. That was a good one, Shaza. All right. Friday, November 7th. So Friday, November 7th will be interesting tomorrow. Now, the last part testimony was when the victim's son was on the stand, and our recording of the jailhouse were played for the jury, in which Michaels claimed he had absolutely nothing on her. Yeah. Ongoing witness testimony is expected to continue. Okay, that's good. Now, I don't recall the name of the CSI witness. Let's see, who is... The name was not specified. However, the prosecution has presented evidence, including crime scene photos, autopsy report, and audio recordings of the jailhouse phone call, which suggests that individuals involved in collecting this data have likely been or will be, they'll call it, testify. And we'll see what is the name. Let's see. Who? Oh, hello, Moki. Good evening. Welcome to the chat. Now, I haven't seen a lot of the pastor trial. That one, I heard today was wild over the pastor trial. We're still talking about this one, but I remember with that trial was quite wild today, I heard. So, with that testimony. And it's good to see you, Moki. Yeah, so, Moki, what are your thoughts about today with the trial so far? I'm just curious. Because, yeah, the son he had a very low tone to his voice. And we had a lot of criticism about how that happened. Because a lot of times you need to get him to speak up and talk. And, yeah, I can understand his awkwardness about being plastered all over the world and feel embarrassment. Now, it does not necessarily prove that he had to do with the murder, though, like what the defense is saying. Although the defense is doing pretty good with what they have. And, yeah, he thought the guy was weird. Yeah, I mean, he would be weird after doing what he did. Yeah, because his father didn't talk to him anymore after this situation happened with his father and going with the woman that he was with. Yeah, I could see where the awkward. Yeah, I thought he was shady. I thought he was sketchy. Like, I wouldn't necessarily trust him, and he seemed kind of out of, not all there. Like something, he was, of course, as we talked about before, he's bashful about what happened, and he was hiding some things, but about the embarrassment. But the regard to the murder, maybe he can't really prove that he did that so far. You could barely hear him. Yeah. He did mumble. That's true. On my computer, I could hear him with the volume all the way up. His tone is non-existent. All right, Michael said something else. Also, we could watch the opening statements that we were supposed to watch last night, but they weren't there. Michael says, the best line from the chat today was when he was talking about divorce, even after a trial, then someone posted, do you think that Bucks will marry her? Oh, yeah, that was funny. Yeah, cringe indeed. Home Slice didn't know anything, drove me nuts. Yeah, so yeah, he was sketchy. And Shaza and I were talking a little bit ago how, for those that are just coming in, welcome to the stream. So the state was opening a lot of doors, and the defense was using this, especially with the CSI lady with her testimony. But later on, it's likely the state will use this against the defense because the defense has to prove without reasonable doubt that these are true, that the person did it, but it may not be all there apparently unless something else comes out because it could swing in a different direction. I thought that the other group people that came on the stand yesterday and today that had to do with forensics and had to do with the police they did well, in my opinion, about how they presented it. I think that there is certainly a death match between the state and the defense, which shows. I remember Moki we saw earlier. He was saying how I see. He was very menacing about that. That was a classic line right there. And Kathy say they added video exhibits to the openings. I will see if they did that. Let's see. I think they added. I think they did. I'm not. We'll see exactly what they added right now, and react to it. Yeah, they separated the opening statements. That is something I do know. All right. Defense points dead son as a real killer. Prosecutor one brutally beheaded. Okay, let's see. Hours ago, that okay. I wonder if they added the censor bar to image or chopped it out entirely. I think they edited it out. That's what they did. Okay, let's look at the defense. What the defense had to say, and then we'll go to the prosecution part. All right. Let's go here, and let's see if this is the one that they posted. All right. Because I think this is the right scene. It is the defense points out the dead man's son is a real killer. Right. Now, look at that, and I'm going to make sure this is the right thing, but we'll play this while I make sure everything is right. All right, so here we go.
Leo Tolstoy.
Yes, this is the right part. This is the opening statement that we're supposed to watch last night, but they didn't put it on. All right, so here, this is the defense opening.
Leo Tolstoy, perhaps one of the greatest authors of all time, in his first book, first novel, Anna Karenina, wrote, first sentence, all happy families are the same. Every unhappy family is unhappy in its own way. Her Honor asked whether we were going to give an opening statement. An opening statement, as Mr. Giordani had laid out, is a time for each side to stand before you and tell you what the facts are. It's our chance to give you a roadmap and explain to you what we feel the facts and ultimately the truth are. Oftentimes defense attorneys sit back and wait. Don't want to show anything. Let's see what they've got. This case, we're not doing that. We're going to get right out in front of this case and we're going to tell you what's really going on and what the state and what their investigation is missing. Initially, Mr. Giordani had said, well, buckle up, and I'm telling you, buckle up. You know, oftentimes in the intricacies and the complications of human relations, things get unsavory. Things are immoral. I'm going to be showing you things right now, not in a sense to offend you, to cast blame necessarily on the decedent in this case, but to give you a true picture of what was really going on with this unhappy family. Outward actions and outward statements are clues to motive.
Yes, I agree, Moki, about that. That he was snarky with the son. That is true. They were showing certain aggression. And Shaza said Tolstoy ended up rejecting the idea of autocracy and embraced a life of pacifism. I know nobody asks, but still. Thank you, Shaza, for giving context about it. I'm aware of Tolstoy. My cousin was very interested in him. I'm aware he was. And yes, and Tolstoy was a philosopher, I believe, in Russia during the time of the ending of the Russian Empire. And he came up with his philosophy, because there's different philosophies at the time that try to overthrow, when they're overthrowing the royal family and the Tsar over there. So yeah, he was one of the philosophers of that time. And yes, thank you, Shaza. All right. Yes, Shaza is very brilliant indeed. Absolutely.
And we're going to ask you that through the course of this trial, you keep the idea of motive in mind. Motive authors actions. After the state had learned, the police had learned, concerning the death of Jonathan Willett, they began to conduct a series of interviews. And what's telling the course of these interviews is what's discussed, what outward statements are made, and how those are clues to motivations. DeVries interviewed the day of August 7th, 2023. And at the beginning of his interview, he admits that he's been drinking. He claims that upon hearing of his father's death, he'd got his drink on. But what's telling through the course of what he says and what he doesn't say, he's asked. And again, at first, and you can't blame the detectives, they're trying to do the best they can with a fairly complex situation. They're trying to get a feeling of the root of the relationships between the parties. I mean, you've got Jonathan Willett, who's dead. You've got deviate, the son that's living with the defendant now in this case, Devin Michaels, and they're trying to grasp what's really going on. What's going on behind closed doors. They struggle in each of the interviews, both with deviate and with Devin, to get a feeling of what's going on. Like, what are the relationships? And they're misled time and time again by all parties. In this interview, the first of which that deviate has, they're trying to get a handle on this idea of this marriage and the relationship. And they ask him, but you're saying that you guys are married more out of convenience, not like you guys actually love each other. His response, yeah, we don't. It's not like that. It's out of convenience. But you guys sleep in the same room? His response, no. He's asked here, they're at the home. His response, no. Are you guys intimate at all? His response, no. Deviate is being asked questions, who, by the way, you will learn he hated. And he's lying about the relationship that he has with his wife. There was some discussion concerning phones, and I'll tell you, any more in this modern society, these are the key of most investigations. In fact, the state had said that's why the deviate was ruled out. The location data on the phone didn't track that night to the Paladera residence. That's easily solved. It's easily explained. It was left home. That's it. There are other cases that have been of some notoriety that happens. People know now. They track you on your phones. You're going to learn that deviate knew this and the importance and the significance of this clue to this hidden secret. This was no marriage of convenience. We have out here the wedding ring that you'll see in photos that both deviate and Devin wore. In fact, Detective Skinner, again trying to grasp this, this is on August 7th, is asking Devin about the rings. And he's telling me the rings. You guys are saying this is convenience, but rings are like of significance. It shows the commitment. She plays it down, as does deviate. This marriage of convenience is belied by the facts. You have to ask yourself as these facts unfold, why is Deviere covering for Deviere? And why is Devin covering for Deviere? This is no sexless union. And again, this isn't to offend, this isn't to shock, but this gives the nature of what's really going on and why that statement was so untrue. I mean, these are pictures taken from their respective phones, and you can see the timestamps. And this will be admitted to you, and you will be able to consider this in reaching the appropriate verdict in this case. This participant, this is a voicemail, 4/27/23 in this sexless, non-intimate marriage.
Will you make love to me tonight? I just want to feel you better. I just want slow kisses, you touching me, kissing my body, you kissing yours. I just want some passion tonight, please.
These are photos recovered from her phone that were taken from her phone, 5/17/23. And again, they're sexual in nature, and this isn't to offend. However, what detectives didn't learn is that this relationship wasn't something that was being frustrated by Jonathan moving in. This relationship had gone on for years before. See the picture of Deviere, 125, it was modified, access 1227. It goes back 7 years. Driver's license, this is Deviere, and if you look and take notice, I mean, this is some years before, he's 6'4", he's 185 pounds, he's a big guy, like his dad. His dad, 6'4", 205 pounds. We had spoken yesterday. Devin Michaels was in the porn industry. You know, she's not on trial for morality, she's on trial for murder. She had AKAs given her line of work. Deviere was into that. He knew that, he appreciated that, he pursued that. And this illicit relationship began before the relationship had ended with his father. It was done behind his back. Text between Deviere and Devin. See, notice the photo, it's that same photo I showed you. 19-year-old, he's now 20. Girl, you had me mesmerized last night. You don't have to change a thing. Like that night was hands down the most sensational feeling I've ever felt since I lost my virginity. These are expressions of a passionate 20-year-old young man who's in love with a porn star. See the dates? Modified 9/3/16. That means it was looked at 7/18/26. We've got Deviere's 20 here. And I'm going to show you photos to show the identification of what's going on. You've got a penis shot taken from her phone. And you see up in the corner, it's Deviere. So it's the case, the facts will show and common sense will dictate that this isn't a case about her wanting to be with Deviere. And she kills Jonathan. She's been with Jonathan. What happened on August 7th of 2023 is Deviere was getting kicked out. He was no longer going to be a part of this relationship because the dad he hated, was coming in and not only taking his home, but taking his wife. Again, 2016, and this shows the length. This isn't everything, but we're trying to just present this to you now so you have an idea. You can appreciate the motivations. Tracy, you put the biggest smile on my face. You haven't seen it already. You are the first thing on my mind in the morning, but I can't kiss you in the morning sadly. But boy, when my lips touch yours, it feels like time stops. For you, my heart races 1,000 miles and never skips a beat. When I have you in my arms, you may as well start a fire in my chest, because no one can make me feel like a melting stick of butter, like you at your best. Just wanted to say you truly outdid the rest. This is 7 years before. Don't worry, at one point I'll be laying next to you, playing with your hair, scratching your back, and whispering something romantic in your ear. Again, the dates are telling. We saw pictures of Jonathan and Devin and the kids, but if you look at the date here and the time, this is 19-year-old deviate. Jonathan's not in the picture. Same time frame, you see. Screenshot, 8/23/16. There were a couple. And there were a couple behind Dad's back. Same photo, same time frame, modified 5/9/22. We're coming now to the present. There'd been a long-going, torrid affair, which resulted in a marriage between a son and his father's former girlfriend. This is Deviere receiving a text from Devin. See, 11/3/21, hope it's good. I was looking, it was good, but I'm looking forward to eating something else later. Her response, Arby's, his, if that's what you call that coochie, then yeah, I guess so too. So again, it shows that this was consistent. Pictures of Devin on Deviere's phone. You'd see modified, which means looked at 5/15/23. Capture time 5/15/23. Again, the date 5/15/23. I mean, this is clearly an intimate relationship. It's not for the kids. It's not for these perceived medical issues. Deviere is in love with Devin. Captures on his phone. You'll hear from Deviere, and we may not have a moment that we discussed yesterday where I can't take it, I did it. Look at the motivations and why people say what they do. Deviere's 9/14/2023 grand jury testimony. And if I could just ask you a couple more questions about that. Did you and Devin get married in the traditional sense? And this is under oath in front of a grand jury where there's jurors. It's a formal proceeding, just like a trial. His response, yes, but it was more me helping out with the girls when she couldn't find a babysitter. So I figured, well, we both kind of sat and talked about it. When she has to go to work and can't find a babysitter, I could be there. She also had a whole bunch of medical problems, and it's very expensive to keep the girls at daycare when she's sitting in the hospital, so I would normally be there to watch them. Okay, and I'm sorry to ask, was it an intimate relationship that you were in with Devin at some point? And now we start seeing, they've got the phones. Metro and the Henderson Police Department are doing their investigations. His response changes, but nonetheless, it's still not truthful. Yes, after the first year, it started to get intimate. They were married November 21st, 2021. So if we're to take Deviere at his word, they got intimate after the first year. That gets us to November, December of 2022. The lie, and the facts show it. Did it remain intimate up until the time of your father's death? Yes. Movement, but still, there's the clues that give way to the secrets that are being concealed, and the motive for why. In his initial interview, okay, so then you knew he was moving in, and she told you that you were going to have to move out? And this is after he's had a few drinks. Probably a lot. His response, recently, yes. It was kind of a short notice, but yeah, and I mean, I know the person he is, and he's referring to his father. So I was like, okay, whatever, I'll deal with it. Okay, and you were going to move out? Did he knew that you lived here, or didn't know that you lived here? His response, no. He knew I lived here. When you look and when you weigh the evidence, you have to ask two things. Why is he saying these things? Why is he denying knowledge of getting kicked out? And this hot and heavy and sexual relationship that he's having with Devin. It changes now. 9/12/23. I didn't know that he was going to move in. He's eliminating another motive. I didn't know what they were attempting to get over here. I didn't know that they were attempting to get remarried, or not remarried, because they were never married, attempting to get married. Again, we do get a glimpse of the truth, but he's denying that he knew that his dad was moving in, and then now he's apparently saying he didn't know they were getting married too. Well, he knew his dad was getting moved in. And he knew that they were getting married. He's out. 9/14/2023, grand jury testimony. Again, this is deviate. Okay, there come a point in time where you learned that your father was going to move into the address where you were living with Devin and the two girls. His response? Under oath. I'm unaware of that. Okay, did you become aware of that? After I talked to the detective? Yes. Oh, okay. So that's something you learned after your father's death? His response? Yes. Understood. Was there a discussion about you potentially moving out of the residence? His response? No, sir. Prior to your father's death? No, sir. Again, he's eliminating under oath the motive. This is a text that Devin sent to him 4 days before this incident. See down at the bottom, 8/3/2023, liar, cheater, it goes on and on. Obviously there's passion in this non-intimate relationship if you're going to take his word for it. She sends him a text, 8/3/23, I want a divorce. All your shit will be waiting outside for you. 4 days before Dad's moving in. Do not even think about coming back. He tells the detective he had no idea. He had no idea there had been no discussions of him getting booted out of the house. So he's losing a wife and he's losing a home. She states, keep your alcohol. Just stay out of my life. You learn from this witness stand that Deviere had a fair amount in common with the father that he hated. He was a heavy drinker. You know, a buddy of mine was a warden in Arkansas, and he said, we eliminate women, we eliminate booze. I got nobody in my prison. 9/12/23, interview of Deviere. Well, you weren't. You weren't the main suspect. You know what I mean? This is yours. It's a little different than hers. We're here, you didn't do it to clear you. His response? Right. Does that make sense? It does. And while the chances of you even being there are so slim that it's just, there's no, that's not even on the radar. These are the detectives that are investigating this case. Perhaps they were ignorant of this, what was really going on, the real dynamic of this fairly seedy, buckle-up relationship. Again, he's ruled out and basically not on the radar because he didn't have the phone on him when his dad was killed. He killed his father. He just left his phone at home when he did that. He's been very clear through his interviews that he worked at Hometronics. He has extensive knowledge of home security systems. And we all know that most home security systems, there's a phone element to it. It caches on your phone. You have a Ring camera, Arlo, any of those. Phone-based. And deviate has a substantial amount of technical knowledge. He also installed home entertainment systems. If any of you have had speakers put in, TVs put up, you got tools. Generally a Sawzall, an electronic knife, an electronic saw when it cuts through the drywall and through 2x4s. We know how that's at least one of the two instruments that was used to remove his father's head. Again, and I've addressed this, why live it, please, on 8/7, then again on 9/12, then live the grand jury on 9/14. Motives, author actions, outward statements betray secrets. He's repeatedly eliminated his motivation through the course of this investigation. And she's been complicit, whether she knew or not. She's complicit in this. We have deviate covering for deviate, and we have Devin covering for deviate. Here she is. This, and again, this is just scratching the surface, but these are photographs that are captured on deviate's phone. Just to give you an idea. And there's a long list. We could be here for much longer than we're going to. You know, he's not on any cameras. Well, yeah, that's what he does for a living. He's aware of these are security systems. He installs them. He's aware of the angles, what they pick up, and what they do. And it goes on and on. But like I said, I won't keep you here for the rest of the afternoon, but these are all, and this is just scratching the surface of what's captured on his phone. I mean, this is sophisticated stuff, and he has sophisticated knowledge. He's taking photographs of all this as part of his work. This is his handiwork. And there's a lot of them. I would submit to you that the facts will show and common sense will dictate he knows how to stay under the radar. He lived at the home where his father was killed. It got too bad between him and his dad. He refers to that house in the Paladera residence with Yoko, and her significant other, and his dad, and Andrea, Jonathan's prior girlfriend, was there. He talked about it being a shit show, a madhouse. He lived there for more than a couple of years. He knew how to get into that house and get out of that house. I'll thumb through these. And again, this is captured on his phone. There's a couple of tools back there. Drill. This is the home that Devin and deviate were living at prior to him getting kicked out. It's right here. It's on Porcupine. The person who lives there knows how to escape detection. Leave the front door, come around, you're on Rebecca Street. There's an even simpler route for a guy that's 6'4", 195 pounds. Right out the back door.
But you're wondering what it looks like we're 30 and pretty nice. Or
This is
like
there.
Yeah.
The results of the autopsy, homicidal violence, there's no real cause. No one knows for sure. Could have been a shooting. These are pictures on, and there's more, but these are just to let you see what was captured on Debbie Ayer's phone. If you look at this is telling. Look at the date. 8/7/23. Modified, that meant it was looked at the day his dad was killed, or the afternoon, the night following his dad being killed. We looked at that. These are swords that were found in the Porcupine residence. The police went in and searched the residence on 8/7/23. This was the residence that Deviere was living at with Devin. We got samurai swords on the floor. There has been a lack of investigation. And again, this isn't bad cop, good cop. No, these are good men trying to do the best they can. But they make mistakes. They've been repeatedly lied to concerning the dynamic of a fairly complicated and salacious relationship. 2 instruments at least used to decapitate Jonathan, 1 manual tool and 1 power tool. Neither recovered. Coroner examination, tool mark analysis reveals characteristics consistent with the use of 2 tools. A hand-powered knife and mechanically powered saw. Something when someone does homes installations, security systems, entertainment systems would have and know how to use. Listen, the mechanics to decapitate a human being are difficult. I mean, you've got this complex systems, you've got the musculature, you have the veins, the arteries, you've got the trachea, you've got the vertebrae, very thick ligaments and cartilage. It takes a lot. Hand-powered saw can do it. What's interesting, and you will see, and it will play out, there's no blood spatter in the room consistent with use of power tool. Apparently there's an assumption that this decapitation occurred on the bed. I submit to you when you see the evidence, it's not consistent with that. You've got a power saw going in the neck there, and you're cutting through it. There's going to be stuff all over the place. They didn't find anything. No cuts or markings to linens, the blanket, or the mattress. Devin is 5'3" and weighs 130 pounds, something like 120. And again, and this will be for the state, because it's the state and the state alone that has to prove this case. Defense doesn't have to prove anything. There had been surveillance cameras. I've been up at the Paladura since 2021, and they were only taken down that evening. Jonathan was moving. We'll probably learn through the course of this trial who installed them. Safe to say it was probably Deviere. Ring was never subpoenaed for these videos. We've heard that perhaps it was wrong account information. The Michaels, Devin Michaels' residence, she was a homeowner. The home phone records were never subpoenaed. And see, this is significant because you can see on Devin's phone that on the night of, and we don't know when this happened, wee hours of the morning, there had been calls from their home repeatedly. She was out late. She was with Jonathan. And at least for a time, Deviere was home with the kids. In fact, the same thing had happened the night before. She had been with Jonathan till 1 a.m. the previous day as well, when Deviere was presumably home, probably drinking. There's no blood or DNA analysis of the swords that Porcupine Ring, but again, too, we don't take issue with it, but probably a sawzall or another hand-powered saw was used. No gun residue testing of either Devin or Deviere. No gun residue testing at Paladera. No blood on Devin's clothes when Yoko sees her at 1 a.m. It was actually Yoko's habit to come down from downstairs. Jonathan's room, the room he was moving out of, was downstairs. And through the cell phone analysis, you're going to see that it was somewhat of a shit show at that house. It was a very cantankerous relationship between Jonathan and his mother. Don't drink, you're going to get pulled over. The autopsies results will show that fatty liver, and the guy's a heavy drinker. He had GHB in his system, he had marijuana in his system. You know, the issue about the car keys and the wallet, Social Security guard being at the house that he's moving into, given not only Devin's concern, but Yoko's concern. For most people, that may be a big deal, significant, where this guy, getting loaded, driving regularly, got to take his keys. Cell phone, part of the bunch. He was moving into that residence, and that's where the police found these things. That isn't evidence of motive, not evidence of murder. There is no blood on Devin's clothes when she goes through the CVS drive, through the pharmacy. Their kids were home. They were home the prior nights. They were living with Devin. There had been a custody dispute, but that had been now resolved through the rekindling their relationship. She lied about the sex that she was having with Devin, or Devin lied about the sex she was having with Debbie, and Devin lied about the sex she was having with Jonathan. There's no blood on the clothes investigators recover from Devin's house. There's no blood on her. And I'm going to show you the video in just a few minutes that the state had showed. The still. This is the night before he is dead and decapitated. Watch that. This is her. And look at her shoes for a minute, please. Her shorts and her shirt. He's smiling. They were adjusting their clothes. And bear with me, this is about 1 minute and 20 seconds, but we want you to watch the whole thing. There's Jonathan. And she had spent this day with him and the girls. They were going school shopping, they were going Burlington, they were moving in things. The girls were there for good. And again, what motivation does she have to get rid of him? She had the girls all summer and was going to continue to have them. She tried to register him at school the next morning, but she wasn't able to. Unbeknownst to her, he was dead. She went back the next day and tried to register him. Look at his face. They're smiling at each other. He's smiling at her. Thanks, Mike. Did you just rewind that a little bit? Thank you. Here we go. Look at his face. Thank you. Oh, we skipped something. Just a second. Can we forward this just towards the end of it where Devin's walking out? Mm-hmm. Again, look at the shoes. And this is before this beheading that the state's saying that she did. There goes Jonathan, and there she goes. Look at her shoes. Look at her shirt. Those are the shorts. CVS 227. After she leaves the Paladura house, the house that Jonathan is moving out of to move in with her, for them to be a family and rekindle this relationship, I'm going to have you believe that she's worried about stopping and picking up a prescription for her daughters. And she does that. She goes, tells the police she went to a 24-hour pharmacy. She had to get medication for girls at school. This is her rolling up. And see, it's 228. If you look at the shirt. Same shirt. And this is after she's presumably gone through this arduous task of beheading Jonathan. probably get a prescription after supposedly beheading a man. She arrives home shortly after that, and it's picked up on the cameras. This is the home the police enter and photograph hours after this murder is alleged to have occurred. See down here on the right? See the shoes? Black shoes, white soles, middle of it. I think we focus up on one, but there's actually two there. These are the shoes that were worn when the man was beheaded hours before. There's another pair of shoes matching those that we saw in that video from Carol Hurst at 10 o'clock the night before. You know, you don't have to like her. You don't have to like the choices that she made. It was Benjamin Franklin that said that facts are stubborn things, and the state has the facts that they have. Look at the evidence. Look at the motivations. And find her not guilty. Thank you. Leo told.
All right, so yeah, that was the defense's opening of statements about their case, and Shaza points out which is Pash. I reckon you'd either be naked or in a hazmat suit if you want to chop someone up without evidence. Yeah. I certainly agree. That would be the way to do it. You would have to wear a hazmat suit, or naked, where you wouldn't want. That was funny. I like your jokes. There's a lot of times people, when they do these crimes, which is very messed up that they do, and I don't recommend people doing crimes like this, but they leave a lot of evidence behind, and they think that they can get away with it, but a lot of times they get caught. You know, there's a few people that are able to get away with it completely, but not these type of people. So it's really... Oh, hello there, Kadada. Hey, I'll just stop to say hi to all you guys. Well, thank you, Kadada. I'm always glad to see you when you come to hang out. Tell us hello. Yeah, you know, you see the different process of the cameras, and yeah, it's like for the son to have pulled this off, like what Pash was pointing out, he would have to have done a Pink Panther moves with that. That's what he would have had to have done. It wouldn't be as simplistic as they're thinking. But of course, you don't really have a lot to work with, and there's lots of reaching, in my opinion, going on about accusing him of doing it. Now, someone could have done it, right? You know, someone could have hypothetically have done it, and it wasn't her. Doesn't mean it was the son, right? To draw to conclusions. Like with Koberger's case, they were going to blame other people that had nothing to, do with anything. That would have been innocently possibly prosecuted for what he did. So it is important to look at the evidence and look at the proof about things are a stretch. Now, she had a hard life. She was raped, molested by Baker, and then Baker married her when he got out, and then, as I said, it messed her mind up. It's, of course, doesn't excuse any misbehavior she does, but the the lawyers are doing the best that they can, but there's this point where something cannot really be defendable. So yeah, the decapitation of the head is quite barbaric. The murdering someone's barbaric in itself, but cutting off the head is an actual touch to that. And they believe that the decapitated head is in another location. All right. So next part, which we were supposed to do last night, we'll look at the state, what the state said about it, and then I will do my opinion about it. Okay. Oh, I didn't know about that. I did not hear about that today, Kadada. That is very sad. Wow. Yes, he played for the Cowboys. I see. I've been so focused on the trial today, and I've been not looking at the world news too much. I have been seeing things about that atlas that's coming in our atmosphere, that's coming in our solar system. I've been seeing things about that recently, but I've not really been keeping up. Thank you, Kadada, for letting me know. That is, rest in peace. That's very sad. Okay, thank you. Yeah, it's, anybody could do that. Unfortunately, anybody could feel that they have to do that when there's other ways of handling situations. It's unfortunate when they take that route. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for updating me about that. Let's see. Yes, absolutely. Okay, this next part will be the state with the prosecutors, what the state was their defense about their case being right was saying. Okay.
On August 7th of 2023, the defendant, Devin Michaels, brutally murdered and savaged the body of her ex, Jonathan Willett. But the story did not begin on August 7th of 2023, and all I can say is buckle up because you're in for a wild ride. This is Jonathan in life. It's Jonathan's 2 young children that he shared with the defendant. Both girls, faces blocked out, they're preteen young children. You will learn during the course of this trial that John had a son from a prior relationship named Deviate. That after Deviate was born, he split with Devier's mother, eventually getting into a relationship with the defendant. They then had these 2 children together. They separated, and there was a custody agreement that was ordered by the family court in which the victim had full physical custody of the girls. You will learn that the defendant was not happy about that situation, that the defendant wanted to have control of her girls, and she wanted to start a new life with Deviate, the same Deviate that is John's son. On August 7th of 2023, Yoko Willett, an elderly woman, woke up to find her dead son in his room with what she referred to as his face and neck missing. This is the 911 call she placed.
Yes, this is Yoko Willett. My number is, address is 2698 Taradura Drive, Henderson, Nevada. Yeah, 702-203-8975.
Tell me exactly what happened now.
Okay, I went downstairs and my son is on the bed and all bloody. I opened the cover. It's all bloody. I don't know. Can you come over?
Yeah, we're going to help you. What happened to him,
I have no idea. I'm so to the outside this morning, but
Is he awake now?
and
Is he awake?
I think he's dead.
Listen, Stephen, I already have a call in for help, okay? How old is your son?
About 46 seconds.
Is he breathing?
Oh, bloody all over. Huh?
Where's he bleeding from him?
I don't know, from the neck or something.
Do you see any weapons?
Hello there, Lord Roan. Great to see you. All right. Okay, so what happened was, and I thought it was like he killed himself because he felt, I don't know, he felt bad about him. However people commit suicide for. I didn't know it had to do with a chase. Okay. But yeah, thanks, chat, for letting us know about that. Let's see. Yeah, Coco doesn't sound very concerned. Yeah. Yes, you watch him watch... Oh, I kind of tripped on my words for a second. You watched him play on Sunday night. Yeah, Kadada, all of a sudden, for somebody to you watch play, then this crazy madness happens. Yeah. It was a welfare check, and it turned out to be a chase. Oh, okay. Patch says, yeah, the language barrier, but certainly if someone has a language barrier, they would show more emotion about it. And real quick. According to reports, November 6, 25, Dallas Cowboy defense Marshawn Neeland, 24, has been died apparent suicide. His body was found by Texas authorities following a police chase in Frisco. Police pursuit on November 5, 25 reportedly evaded state troopers in his vehicle after traffic violation. He crashed his vehicle and fled on foot. Suicidal ideation. During the subsequent search, Neeland authorities were alerted by family and friends that he had expressed self-deletion, suicidal thoughts. Discovery of his body. His body was found earlier Thursday, November 6, while the official cause of death was pending confirmation from the Collin County Medical Examiner's Office. Police stated it was part apparent self-inflicted shotgun, no, not shotgun, but gunshot wound, just a regular gunshot. Okay. His team remembered him as a beloved teammate and member of the organization. Tributes from across the NFL poured in, with many raising topics of suicide awareness. Wow, that is wild. All right, so that is what happened. Okay, we will now resume to our scheduled programming. And it's great to see you, Hamilton. All right. Facts. Okay, and now...
Around him? No. Will he harm himself? Can you tell? What? Did he look like he hurt himself at all? Like, maybe shot himself? I have no idea. Those was on the yard. I told him, I didn't know he was trying to move out from my house. Okay. And his girlfriend was here yesterday. Okay. When's the last time you saw him? Yeah, when's the last time you saw him okay? How long ago? Last night. Last night? Yeah. I think somebody has to come to eat. Okay, yeah, we're already on the way, okay? We're going to try to help him before we get there. Do you have a defibrillator available inside your house? Huh? Do you have a defibrillator available at your house, a shocking machine? I don't. That's okay. Now, what I want you to do is think, do you feel safe to get ready to have stuff so we can try to do?
That is what police found when they arrived at the Willette residence. Jonathan on his bed in his bedroom. As you can see, his head is missing. Large blood stain at the foot of the bed there, and a large amount of blood underneath where his head should be. Officers eventually removed the cover from his body and noted several chemical burns, or what appeared to be strange chemical burns on his body. And a very clean decapitation that you can see there. Henderson Police Department was responsible for the investigation. After first responders arrived on scene, clearly couldn't render any medical aid to the victim, they locked down the scene. Homicide investigators are then enlisted and take over. Along with the homicide investigators, they bring out an army of crime scene analysts and treat this case obviously very seriously, and they go into the home after executing a search warrant. When they go into the home, They obviously focus on the bedroom, but they do a pretty thorough search of the entire residence, the curtilage, the backyard, the front, the trash cans, the upstairs bedrooms, the kitchen, the living room, and these are the items that they find. A couple of chemical bottles, obviously relevant for the potential chemical burns on the victim's body. They find some interesting writings that you'll see a little bit more of later, demonstrating that there was a contentious custody case going on between the victim and someone at that point, someone. They see out front John's moving truck, the victim's moving truck. You will learn that he had a moving business. There's a trailer on the back. It's parked a little cattywampus, going the wrong way on the street and poking out into the street as though he may have planned on moving after he last parked that car or truck. But the items that weren't found are what was particularly notable for the investigators. They didn't find a murder weapon. They didn't find whatever this person used to cut his head off. They did not find his head. They did not find his wallet. They did not find his truck keys, and they did not find his phone. They interviewed Yoko, and the gentleman above Yoko's photo is Yoshida, her partner. According to Yoko and Yoshida, the defendant, who they referred to as Nikki and knew as Nikki, ultimately identified as Devin Michaels, was the last person to see Jonathan alive. Nikki and John had been moving the girls and John's items from this Paladura address to Nikki's address on Porcupine Rim that she shared with Deviate, and for a temporary period over the summer, the young girls. They learned that Nikki and John returned to this address, the Paladura address, for the last time at 10 p.m. on August 6th, or around 10 p.m. They learned from Yoko that about 1 a.m. she was going downstairs for a glass of water and ran into the defendant, who she will describe to you when you hear from her as she appeared to be startled to see me. The defendant and Yoko have a conversation. It's relatively brief. Yoko's in the kitchen cleaning up some dishes. The defendant has now entered the kitchen, and they begin to talk when the defendant tells Yoko, John's asleep. Don't go in there. Those aren't her words. You'll hear this through the course of the trial. She says, John's asleep. He's passed out. We have plans for him to move some more stuff in the morning. Kind of don't bother him kind of thing. Yoko then noticed that the lights were on in John's room, but decided, hey, if he's asleep, I'm not going to go in there. She returns back upstairs. Yoko went to sleep, leaving Nikki, or the defendant, alone in the home. You will learn very clearly that there were only 4 people in the home at the time of this incident. The victim, the defendant, Yoko, and Yoshida. Yoko also will tell you that around 8 a.m. she found John without a face. You probably heard from the 911 call, there's a bit of a language barrier. She'll do her best to describe what she initially saw and the shock, obviously, that ensued. So the defendant is the last person to see him, so investigators are very curious to speak with her. Homicide detectives summon her to the scene. They get a hold of her via a phone number given by a neighbor. She answers that phone. It's her phone. She agrees to come to the scene, leaving Deviate and the girls are with the defendant as well. She, in her initial interview, says John is her ex. They share the 2 children together. That they spent the whole day together on August 6th, moving, shopping for the girls' school supplies, etc. Everything's normal from her perspective. That evening, they were moving the girls' things into her home on Porcupine, and she was, in fact, at the Paladura residence last night doing that. She would go on to describe it's a normal night, there's nothing out of sorts, and that John was alive and well in the garage when she left. Remember that. Further investigation, of course, occurs. Homicide detectives are treating this very seriously. You will learn from many of them that when a homicide such as this comes in, they divide duties. There's too much for one person to do. And so, although there is a lead detective who goes by the name of Dennis Ozawa, Detective Ozawa was not in any way the only person investigating this case. He had an entire team, and you will hear from many of those people. You will learn that one big thing in the modern days of investigation is videos, video cameras. They're everywhere in our valley, so they canvass all around. The Paladura residence is kind of right in the middle of all those yellow markers. They canvassed all these different addresses for anything who saw, heard anything, and anyone who had a camera. Some of those were fruitful, some of them were not. They knocked on the doors where video cameras were visibly present. They even knocked on doors where they weren't present in the hopes that maybe someone saw or heard something. And they gathered a lot of footage. We're going to do our best during the course of this trial to streamline it for you. There's hundreds of hours of footage, and we're going to present it in the best way we can. They also learned that there is a neighbor directly to the left of the homicide scene who had a motion-activated Ring camera, which will become important later in the trial. There also was an autopsy, of course. The Henderson Detective Ozawa attended that autopsy. You will hear from the medical examiner in this case, Dr. Stephanie Yagi with the Clark County Coroner's Office, who enlisted the assistance of a forensic anthropologist, Dr. Burns, who works out of UNLV. You will learn that Dr. Yagi surmised that the cause of death was homicidal violence and the manner of death was homicide. You will learn that she noted the non-thermal chemical burns on the body, which did not contribute to his death, but were notable for investigative purposes. Something important I want you to keep in the back of your mind is there were no bleeding injuries.
All right. Slat says, nice stream, bro. I'm going in and out, catching up with work. FML. Oh, okay, buddy. Thank you for coming here, Slat. I'm glad that you enjoyed the stream. You're able to make it. Okay. See you tomorrow. If you're going. Okay. Let's go.
Injuries anywhere else on the body, so everything was focused neck and above. You will learn that the decapitation occurred post-mortem. There are histological reactions that the body has if this type of thing happens while you're still alive and your body is trying to actively repair itself. None of those were present during the course of the autopsy, and so the doctor will testify that this was a post-mortem decapitation. As I mentioned, she enlisted the assistance of a forensic anthropologist, Dr. Burns. You will hear from her as well. She will talk about the science behind what she does, and in this particular case, she was enlisted for the main purpose of determining what was used to cut off Mr. Willette's head. She will tell you that she did microscopic examination. During the course of that thorough examination, she determined very clearly that there were 2 separate instruments used to chop off his head. She even can narrow it down by time because of the layering of the artifacts on the bones. And so she will surmise and testify that first, a serrated or non-serrated knife was used. So a knife, whether serrated or not. When that was unsuccessful, the defendant then used a powered saw of some sort. She can't narrow it down to class. You will learn, or class of tool. You will learn that the bones in the neck, the cervical spine, are very small. There are areas on it which would reflect these markings, but they are so small that she can't really surmise what type of saw. She'll testify that if it's a long bone, she has seen cases with dismemberment, involving dismemberment, but not a decapitation. But with dismemberment of larger bones, you can see more, which allows you to narrow down the type of saw that was used, but here that's not possible. Nonetheless, she will testify clearly that it was 2 different instruments, knife first, saw second. Further investigation also revealed what Mr. Draskovich alluded to in jury selection, a very non-traditional family situation. And I kind of mentioned this a little bit earlier. The investigation revealed that the defendant, after splitting with John, ultimately married his son, Deviate. Deviate moves in with her. They are together for an extended period of time. The defendant loses custody of the girls, and eventually the girls end up for a short period of time over the summer of 2023 before school starts, living in the home with the defendant and Deviate, with Jonathan living back at the Paladura residence with his mom and Yoshida. This is Clark County Department of Family Services document showing the parent placement verification letter describing that John was awarded full physical custody of the girls on October 27th of 2022. That Jonathan, as I said, and the girls were living at 2698 Paladura at the time. You can see in the document that the defendant had weekly supervised visitation with the girls for an extended period of time. And you will learn through various witnesses that John kind of bent the rules with that and allowed her to see the girls a little bit more than was court ordered. You will also learn that John allowed the girls to stay with the defendant and Deviate, as I mentioned, at the Porcupine Rim address over the summer of 2023, and that Jonathan was going to move in with the defendant and the girls to try to stabilize their lives and basically try to get everyone under the same roof. The girls were having a real hard time with the custody situation, and his main focus was the girls. Obviously, with all this information they've gathered, the defendant is now a person of interest. She's the last person to see John. She's been over there very close in time to his murder. There's all these ties. There's the custody paperwork I showed you earlier, the writings that were in his room. And so they respond to Porcupine Rim. I can't remember if I put a map in here, but I'll just tell you we'll have a Google map for you that shows the distance between the homes. They're about 30 minutes apart. Paladura is in Henderson. Porcupine Rim is in Las Vegas, and it's a pretty good distance, about 30 minutes. The detectives will tell you, and this is Detective Ozawa and Detective Carrie Skinner, that when they go to the residence, they observe the defendant. She's kind of either moving stuff or moving back and forth between the home and the vehicle, and they note a couple of things before they approach and make contact with her. You see the Nissan Armada, which is the defendant's vehicle, looks pretty clean and shiny. You will see that cell phone on the right. The detectives observed that when they first drove up, kind of sitting in the rocks near the driveway. Thought, okay, that's weird, but we're not going to touch it. We're not executing a search warrant yet. They leave it be, and then they make contact with the defendant to interview her again, because now they know some more things, and things aren't quite adding up, and they want to know a little bit more. They make contact with the defendant, and this is prior to them going into the home and executing a search warrant on the home. They get a little more information, but the story generally remains the same, that John recently dated Andrea. This is extra information. But that last night he threw away his engagement ring in the trash can at Paladura, which, remember that. That John wanted to get back together with her romantically. This is new information. And move in, which we already know to provide stability for the girls. She mentioned that Yoko does not know Deviate and I are married. She claimed that her marriage with Deviate was one of convenience for insurance purposes and non-romantic and not sexual in nature. You will learn, and you'll actually hear it, the interview. During this interview, out in the police vehicle in front of Porcupine Rim, the girls walk up, and you can hear them. Their sweet little voices, and they're like, "This is Daddy's phone. This is Daddy's phone. This is why he wasn't answering." The detectives realize that's kind of important. They take the phone from the girls, or the girls give it to them, and the detectives note blood on the phone. Something important. They ask the defendant, well, how did this get here? And she responded generally that he must have left it here earlier in the day when he was moving, and I don't know. I mean, there's a cigarette butt over there. I know he smoked cigarettes. It's by where the phone was. He probably left it. And the detectives are a little suspicious of that. They ask her a few more questions. Again, you're going to hear this stuff in the audio recording, so I've summarized it. And then ultimately at the end, she again sticks with this: John was alive and well in the garage when I left. As I mentioned, the detectives then obtain a search warrant and execute that search warrant on the home. They also get the warrant for the vehicles. You'll learn that white moving van is Deviere's work van. He was a home security installer. He did various jobs for a legitimate company. They searched that vehicle. Nothing of evidentiary value found in that vehicle. You can also barely see behind the van. There's a small sedan that's inoperable, but they search it nonetheless. They find nothing of evidentiary value. When it comes to the defendant's Nissan Armada, they photograph it on the outside, but then they apply seals to every opening, and then they tow that to have it searched later at their lab. You will learn they find in the garage the Ring cameras from John's home. A little weird. They grab them up. They seize them pursuant to the search warrant in the hopes that maybe, since these are the cameras from John's home, it captured something. There is no footage, unfortunately, associated with it. They issued administrative subpoenas and attempted to obtain footage from Ring. There was no footage because he didn't have the right account to store the Ring footage in the cloud. And I'm butchering the technical terms, I'm sure, but you'll hear all of this from witnesses. They also noted that there was no SD card in the cameras themselves, but nonetheless, they took them, they seized them pursuant to the search warrant, just to make sure. You will also learn they find several of defendants' writings throughout the home describing kind of the relationship with Deviere, not exactly how the defendant described it to them to begin with. Very importantly, they find the defendant's purse. Inside her purse, they find the victim's social security card, along with one of her work cards. This is the defendant's bedroom. What I've circled there is basically her underwear drawer. When you execute a search warrant, you go through everything. You basically toss the place. And when they were searching the defendant's underwear drawer, they found something. And my mouse is freezing on me here. Very important. They find several layers of knotted plastic bags, and inside they find the victim's wallet, current identification, and his only set of truck keys. After the search warrant, they speak with the defendant again. They learn that the defendant's version regarding the phone is that she has no idea how it ended up there. They confront her with the blood on the screen. She initially says, "Oh, I don't know," and then she says, "He cut himself moving." Remember when I talked about the autopsy earlier, no other bleeding injuries on the victim's body? Remember that? She claims he cut himself while he was moving. There's no evidence to suggest that. They learned John wanted to move in with the defendant so we could have the girls under one roof and parent them. They further learn, although they already kind of know this, that John has physical custody of the girls, and the defendant claims she plays nice with him to kind of keep access to the girls and keep things kosher. They also learn, which is very important, that John was moving in quicker than she expected. They learn not only from the defendant but other witnesses that this idea of them reuniting for the children had been discussed for several months, but that on this night, on August 6th, John began loading stuff into the truck when the defendant is loading up the girl's stuff into the truck. And she kind of realizes for the first time he was serious about this and this is going to happen. And you'll learn that that's when the walls start closing in on the defendant and she makes the decision she made. The detectives confront her with the fact that there is no notifications on the phone when the girl's provided. It's black, they open it, and there are no notifications on the screen. But that she had contacted him several times the night before, and that those notifications should be there based on the timing of the phone arriving at her house. They ask her, before telling her what they have found in the home, they ask her, hey, do you have any idea where John's wallet would be? She says very unequivocally, no idea. They then say, well, hey, we kind of found this ID and this wallet in your bedroom. And she then changes her story and she provides a version, again, you will hear this audio recording, in which she says it was back at the Paladura residence. She held the plastic bags open and John placed his items into the bag and she tied them up right in front of him. And they confront her when the story doesn't make sense over and over, and that's kind of the story she sticks with regard to that. You will learn there was an extensive follow-up investigation after that interview. Although things weren't adding up, although things looked very strange, the detectives did not rush to judgment and arrest her right there. Although all of the victim's property is inside her home, his blood is at her scene, they don't arrest her right there. They choose to do follow-up investigation. You will learn there was fingerprint analysis that was done. Nothing really of evidentiary value comes of that. You will learn that DNA processing was done, that the victim's blood was in fact on the phone at her house, and that the defendant's DNA was on the knot of those plastic bags where his property was found inside. You will also learn that an extensive digital investigation was done, and that was in the form of video surveillance, digital forensics, meaning phone dumps. They take the actual devices found. There's 11 found inside her home, including the victims. They plug it into a machine. They'll talk about the technology. They're able to extract the data from the phone, and they find several things of note. They also do a call detail record investigation. That is the records that your cell phone maintain or are maintained on your cell phone, everybody's cell phone, with the company you use for service. And those records not only show incoming and outgoing messages and calls, but they also show location data, because every time you place a call or receive one, you are pinging on some kind of tower and leaving a trail of where you've been. Not a precise trail, but a general trail of where you've been. They also pull Burla. Burla is a lot more precise than the cell phone towers. That is an infotainment system inside the Nissan Armada. And they're able to extract that data, and I'll show you that in a moment. They very clearly get a timeline based upon the Burla. The defendant's vehicle is at the victim's home by 10 o'clock at night. The vehicle activates but does not move at about 11 o'clock at night. The vehicle leaves the home for good at 2:04 a.m. 2:04 a.m. on August 7th. And you'll see that in a moment. I've noted here that the video surveillance, DFL, and CDR rule out deviate. Obviously, he was interviewed. You will hear from him during the course of this trial. But they treat him as a suspect. Obviously, there's some fishy circumstances. They're not just pinning this on the defendant because what she's saying doesn't make sense. They're looking into both the defendant and deviate and others. The video surveillance that I'm referring to is kind of wide-ranging. There is one particular camera you're going to learn about that was near the Porcupine Rim residence, the defendant's home. That is a full-time camera. It's not a motion-activated camera. That allows them to see the home, see what vehicles left, came and went at any given time, and they clearly rule out deviate from that video. In addition, I mentioned earlier, there's video surveillance from next door to the victim's home. That captures the defendant at around 11 a.m. going to her vehicle, moving it slightly, and then ultimately leaving. Gotta love technology. Here are a couple of additional clips from video surveillance. The one on the left is the defendant with the victim the night before when they're doing the moving. It shows us that they are together, that no third party is present, it's just them. They go into a store, they buy an item, and they leave. And then 2:28 a.m., the defendant is alone. It kind of clipped off on this particular picture, but the defendant is alone in her vehicle after she leaves the residence and goes back to her home, ultimately landing there about 2:46 a.m. Those digital forensic examinations I mentioned become relevant, especially when it comes to deviate. There's much more than this, but I'm trying to narrow it down for the opening statement. This particular message was sent from deviate to the defendant. As you can see, at 10:36 p.m. See you when you get back. I'm going to sleep. Girls are in the living room. And the video surveillance supports that. This image you're seeing now is the CDR cell tower location data. There is much more to it when the witness testifies. There's a bunch of animated videos you're going to see. Just for this purpose, I did a screenshot. The blue and red represent the victim and the defendant's phone, and the green represents Deviate's phone at our operative time period, showing him across town when that last message was sent and throughout the evening. You'll also see the burla that I referenced earlier. As I mentioned, burla leaves actual GPS breadcrumbs, like by the foot. So as opposed to just a tower you're hitting on, this is actually showing the track. And you're going to see very clearly when the defendant came and went from the victim's residence on the night of August 6th, as well as when she left on August 7th. After all of this information is gathered, it's very clear that the defendant did this to the detectives. They make the decision to place her under arrest for murder with use of a deadly weapon. After she is arrested, she is interviewed again. This time they try with two different detectives. Obviously, the statements she gave earlier were inconsistent, and so they send in a couple of other detectives, and you'll hear from that detective as well. In this particular interview, the defendant acknowledged that she realized John was actually moving in, that at the time of the murder, she was giving John a massage on the bed. While he was lying on his stomach, the defendant got up, walked over to the fireplace, and grabbed a large, what she referred to as a stick or maybe a candle holder. It's a large, heavy object. John was lying on his stomach, not a threat, in the midst of a massage, face down, unexpecting, and the defendant admits that she returned to the bed, bashed him over the head with that club or stick, and that John went limp at that time. You will learn that the defendant refused to acknowledge what she did next. You can make your determination as to why someone might do that as this trial goes on. That she refused to tell detectives what she did with John's head or with the weapon. That those items were never recovered. And so you need to put together the pieces, as the judge just described with the rain example. You will learn that this is the reality of the situation before John was killed.
All right, so basically, to answer your question, Rita, she said, I couldn't hear a thing that Dhruv was saying. Was it yes or no? Oh, so he claims to... The guy seemed very sketchy, but he doesn't seem like he did the crime necessarily, or he claims that he didn't. He claims he didn't do it. But he seems sketchy in the first place. But with the camera and different evidence that we have so far, it doesn't seem like he was responsible for the incident. Oh, okay, Mikey. See you tomorrow. Thank you for hanging out with us. All right. Now this part that was the state, okay, and that was it for what the state had to say. All right. So we watched the state, and we watched the defense's not hearing, but watched their opening statements. Right. All right, so the forensic anthropology. Yeah, so Pash was interested to see what the forensic anthropology was, and I'm just going to rehash what that was for everybody. Basically, it's someone that deals with bones. A specialized subfield, which I said before, of a physical biological anthropology that involves applying skeletal analysis and archaeological techniques to legal and humanitarian contexts. And the key functions of that is identify remains. They distinguish between humane and non-humane bones, non-human bones, not humane, not human and non-human bones, and if human work to establish a biological profile which includes the individual's estimated age, death, sex ancestry, and stature, height. Analyze trauma. They examine bones for signs of injury or trauma, such as fracture, bullet holes, or cut marks that occurred around the time of death, which can determine bones from bones, right? Determine the type of force used, blunt, sharp, or ballistic. And Tom said when somebody tries to challenge the plea deal and have a trial, they lose every time. All right, and estimate time since death. They study the effects of decomposition and environmental factors on the remains to help estimate how long ago a death occurred and post-mortem interval. Assist with recovery using their training, archaeology, and they can properly locate, excavate, and meticulously document buried or scattered remains at a crime scene or mass disaster site, ensuring that all evidence is collected correctly. Provide expert testimony. They document their findings, and detailed reports may serve as expert witnesses in court to explain their scientific conclusions or judge the juries. All right. Go to the next thing here. A prosecution has stated, just to make clear, regardless of what the defense says, the prosecution has stated that Willett was ruled out as a suspect from the surveillance footage. According to the prosecutor, John, surveillance footage showed that Michaels was with the victim. Jonathan Willett, the night was killed. Crucially, the same cameras clearly ruled out DeVere, as there was no footage placing him near the father's home at the time the incident occurred, like we were saying before. So that is another factor in the case. And the information about did they swab the tools on the saw. Information from the available search results does not explicitly state whether the investigators swabbed the specific work tools and power saw believed to be used in the Devine Michaels case. However, the autopsy indicated that the decapitation occurred using two instruments, a knife and a power saw. Court documents also reveal that victim's mother reported a meat cleaver was missing from her kitchen, suggesting this might be one of the potential tools used. The general process of forensic investigation would likely involve swabbing potential weapons found to test DNA or other evidence. The crime scene analyst did testify that there was no indication that the evidence at the main crime scene had been tampered with. Victims' head and specific murder weapons or power saw have never been recovered by investigators, as Michaels alleged that this posed weapons power has not been recovered. Investigators and Michaels allegedly disposed of them in different locations while trash was collected. Alright, so that would answer the question if they swabbed that stuff or not. And the summary about who the witnesses were exactly that we've seen so far is there's police, law enforcement witnesses, multiple police officers, and law enforcement personnel began the testimony. That was yesterday, and then crime scene analyst, forensic analyst. A crime scene was on the stand both Wednesday and Thursday, November 6th, presenting evidence including crime scene photos. Yes. That is correct. That one of the son's tools was likely used in this, like a power saw. Oh, hello, Bill. Good to see you, buddy. All right. Yeah, that is the theory. That the defendant allegedly, or whoever, most likely the defendant, used the power saw to cut the head off. Yes. That is a theory that we're running with at the moment, but anything can change over time. You know, that's what we gathered so far. We know a little bit more than yesterday, but we're still getting fresh into the case. All right. Yeah, and going here. All right. Okay, that's all caught up. All caught up. And what did they testify to? Now, pointing at at the moment we do not, or at least I don't think at the moment that the son did the crime, but he is shady. And that is basically for day 2 that they did today. Yeah. So if there was anything else that we find out later, we will see. We'll see how tomorrow goes. Right, in the Devine Michaels trial, the crime scene analyst testified that victim Jonathan Willett was likely decapitated on the bed where his body was found, and there was no evidence of his body moved after death. Analysts found nothing of evidence. Searching trash cans, victim's head state there was no indication crime scene evidence had been tampered with. Okay. Okay, pals. Like Hot Mama Joyce, I have to melt now was fun to drop in. It was nice that you dropped in, Hamilton. Have a good evening. Thank you for hanging out with us. So specific injuries that happen. We know about the decapitated head, but specific injuries is blunt force trauma. Michaels admitted to police that she hit him in the back of the head with a wooden stick before he died. So imagine this. She admitted that she hit him in the back of the head with a blunt force before he passed away. So obviously the son wasn't really around in the situation. I mean, she admitted she was there right before he passed away, and she had the blunt force trauma. So the logical conclusion so far, unless something else comes up, she was the one that did the other part too. And also the chemical burns, so that's the only two things. So besides decapitation, those are two other factors that happened in that situation. Now, another interesting fact about this, so we talked about the case so far, right, as that's all we know so far. Now, what are the rules about using withdraw and guilty pleas? So when people are in a case, so famously in this case, she withdrew her guilty plea and wants to have a trial. And we're going to kind of dive into how this works exactly. Under both federal and Nevada rules of evidence, withdrawing a guilty plea and statement made during the plea process or plea discussions are generally not admissible as evidence against the defendant in a subsequent criminal trial. Although she could hypothetically take the stand over what happened, it's still possible, like I said earlier. There's still some ambiguity around how this would exactly happen. And the purpose of the rule is to encourage open and honest dialogue during a plea negotiations and the efficient resolution of criminal cases without the defendant fearing their statements will be used against them if negotiations fail and the case goes to trial. Admitting withdrawn plea would effectively negate allowance of the withdrawal and undermine the right to a fair trial. All right, and key rules for Nevada. Nevada revised statute NRS 48.125 explicitly states that evidence of guilty plea later withdrawn or an offer to plead guilty is not admissible in criminal proceeding involving the person who made the plea offer. Right. And the federal rule of evidence 410 in comparable state procedures prohibits the use of a guilty plea that was later withdrawn, statements made during the court proceedings related to the plea, statements made during the plea discussion with prosecuting attorney that did not result in the final guilty plea. Okay, Bill, so we're talking about a case that this woman, or her last name's Michaels, she was married to Baker at one time, Robert Baker at one time. She is on trial for murdering the boyfriend and decapitating his head, this gentleman. And she did a guilty plea, and she would be locked up for 15 years. And she decided at the last moment, Devine Michaels. Yeah, I'm not familiar with the first name, so that's why it doesn't always register with me. All right, Devine Michaels. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, but yeah, that's who it is. And she was with this guy and then married the guy's son. So she was with both of them. It's kind of strange. And so she cut off his head allegedly. The father of the guy that she was with both of them. It's very complicated, so it's okay to ask questions. And she allegedly dumped acidic chemicals on the body to try to decompose it. and the body was still smoking when it was discovered, and she took the plea, but she revoked the plea and wanted to do a trial instead. And now she's in a Timu situation where she's trying to blame the son for doing it, but there's all these cameras that they're watching the case. Not watching the case, but in the case, there's these security cameras that prove that the son was not involved. And the son took the stand today, and he talked very low, and he seemed shady, and he seemed embarrassed because his deke was shown on national television, and not even better than national television, on the internet, everywhere. And yeah, I know, right, Nemo? All over the place. Yeah, it's similar to that. That has been talked about. Show business has been talked about. It's similar to that. And after that happened, her defense is doing actually quite well, but they're being kind of condescending to the witness today, the son. He doesn't seem like he did it, but he seems kind of shady. People don't really like him too much, but he is in an awkward position right now. So I would say that the defense is doing really the best they can, and they even were able to trip up one of the witnesses. But it's believed, we think, that the state's letting them do it on purpose to lead them into a trap later that'll completely debunk their case. She should have just taken the plea deal, and she most likely did it. And Robert Baker molested her when she was little, and then married her when he got out. And it's just a really big mess, and his attorneys are the same attorneys that Tellis had. So this is a sequel to Monica Cementelli and Tellis in one time. This is the trial of the year, all right? Because a lot of the trials this year, not many trials have been happening, and a lot of the trials have been mediocre. So, but there's been some good trials, but also some mediocre trials. Not like the ones that we saw last year and the years before. So yeah, and she was ex-porn star, yes, that's true. Yes. Yeah, so that is the trial that we were discussing, and it's day 2, so there's a little bit more information, and we got to watch the state and defense's openings, because LC had to cut it out, the original video, because they were showing some deke in the first one by mistake, and the cameraman dodged it really quickly so people can't see it, but they had to take it down because of YouTube's policies. So they had to re-upload it in 2 different videos. So that, and we're talking about day 2 and our thoughts about the situation so far. But as I said, as the trial goes on, we will talk about what we think as it evolves. But yeah, that is what the case that we're speaking about at the moment, and just some context about the different law rulings, stuff like that. Right. So it is, as I said, a very, very wild case, indeed. Yeah, it's truth is stranger than fiction sometimes, and we're in one of those situations. Lord Roan said, I missed that part yesterday by 10 minutes. I saw it with chat, but it must have it was so quick to register it. What I was looking at, it didn't happen right away because they cut it out so quickly. But yeah, I saw it with chat, and we're all like, whoa, that's wild. Yeah. And Bill, if you're able to see the trial, I recommend you watch it. And a lot of the regulars are there, and it's the chat is as I said, this trial is like a trial that the past years. It's so I'm glad in the year 2025, we're able to see a cool trial like this. Although it's under very dark circumstances, it's still this is a good one. Speaking of scorecard, I once bowled at 300 on the Wii. That's cool. That's cool. I like playing the Wii. So with the Nintendo Wii, I still have mine. I have a Mario Wii. Yes, we're watching it at Law and Crime. Yes. I have a Mario one, and it was red, right? It's a red Wii. And yeah, I did really good with that. I made my character, and I do good with baseball too. Yeah, I know what you're talking about with the Wii. Those games are fun. I remember I would hit the baseball, or sometimes I'd roll the bowling ball. Yeah, I did tennis too. Uh, Passion says I worked as a technician at AMF bowling for 6 years. Still traumatized when I hear that sound. I freeze up. Oh, okay, Shaz. I remember it's been a little while since I've been to a bowling alley. One of my friends does it all the time, but yeah, I remember. I think what she means. I'm not too sure. It's when you hear the bowling ball hit the pins and it goes boom. One time I accidentally went on the court part and slipped. I felt kind of goofy. But yeah, bowling balls. It's kind of funny. I would take there's all kinds of different colors because I was used to seeing in the movies they would have a black one, but they have all these different colors now, like marble and stuff. And there's when I was a kid, I used a smaller one to use, and then you go boom and get it. Yeah, I used to go on the field trips. Passion says the sound of the ball hitting the pins, it's 1,000 times louder at the other end of the lane. Oh, I'd imagine it would be much louder when you're that close to it. Yikes! Yeah. Yes, it is confusing indeed, and that is good, Bill, to do the research on it. Yeah. And also, Sauce says, I grew up in the bowling alley. Best arcade games in there. Oh, I love arcade games. I like those. Now, Sauce, was there an arcade game you liked specifically the most? Mary Toodles likes Pac-Man. She's very good at Pac-Man. Michael says, I bowled in the Hammer Open in Elmwood, Oklahoma. My friend actually won the Showboat Open back in a day here in Las Vegas. Oh, that's really cool. That's talent. Oh, you play Dig Dug? Whoa. Joust pole position. I didn't know that. Okay. Yeah, you know what, Sauce? I have that on the Game Boy. On the game, I thought when I was a kid, I thought that was a newer game, but I knew it had to be based off an older game. Yeah, I played Dig Dug on the Game Boy. Donkey Kong and Centipede. Oh, those are good too. Yeah, on the Game Boy they put Dig Dug in there, and yeah, that was one of my favorites. I liked playing. My favorite was Galactica. Hello, Matt. Good to see you, buddy. Good evening to you, sir. And this is what we did when I was Galactica. Since I'm an alien, of course, I like the alien stuff. Galactica was my favorite. I liked when you would have the aliens all arranged in this position, and then you would fire at them, and I would just go after them, and then it would start a new game, and I would go up different levels. I like Pac-Man as well, and that I play on the Game Boy. So there are arcade games you put on the little devices. Frogger and Galactica, yeah. I like all those games. Also, Sauce, the ones you mentioned. I like the other ones you mentioned too. They're good too. All right, Posh says the arcade game with the most ticket output at my bowling alley was the mini basketball. People would climb and toggle the fender manually. Oh, okay. that would make sense. When the arcades growing up, they had the basketball one, and that would be a high score. And when I was a kid, Chuck E. Cheese was the place that kids would go to arcades. Was one of the places we would go as kids. Not the only place, of course, but that was one of the places we would go when we were really little. And yeah, I liked the basketball one. The one that I would say Shaza was the one that we played that would have the highest ticket score was the bowling one. It was not bowling that you're thinking of, but it's like you'd roll the ball up this thing, and there's like these holes on this background, and they would just go into different holes. It would be different levels. It would look like a nucleus, or like another way to say it is like a labyrinth of different points that you could score. So that was maybe a newer game. That was the one that had the most tickets. Matt said the arcade cabinet for Tron was significantly cooler than the game itself. Yes, a lot of times the gaming cabinets can be very, very cool looking, even cooler than the game. Yeah. Charles Entertainment Cheese. Skee Ball. Oh yeah, yes, that's right. 260, 2,600 from Atari, under $50. Nice. Michael said, have you ever heard of the game called QB1? It would have been many years ago. Yeah, that one, QB1, I personally don't think I've heard of that one. And Bill said, my ex took the PlayStation when we split, and I haven't played a game since. And Matt says, I bet that really pushed your buttons. Yeah, it would push my buttons if somebody did that to, me. I would miss the PlayStation. So yeah, free Bill, as they would say. Free Bill Fisher. He needs his PlayStation back. Alright, Sauce said, I had the original Atari 1982 Pitfall was my first game. River Rad on the Atari. Nice. Not the PlayStation. Right. Anything with the PlayStation. Kaboom. Yeah, okay. And yeah, with the arcade game cases, there were works of art in themselves. I remember seeing those, and you put like a quarter in there, and you play the game. Now, one game that I liked a lot was a tedious game. It's not an arcade game, but it's where you take the claw machines. Those are something I like to play. One time I was trying to get where you would cut the strings off this, like a gaming device. It was very difficult to try to get that because it was designed a certain way where you would keep on spending the money to get it, but it didn't. Very tedious to get it. But the claw machine with the stuffed animals, that was really cool. Right. Posh said, my first video game was Alex the Kid on Sega Master System 2. There were no saves for it. Oh, there was no saves for it. Oh, wow. That certainly would be tedious where you would have to just play the game the whole time. And just kind of go through the whole thing without saving it. Moki says, I was excellent at Super Pac-Man back in the day. Oh, yes, and you are twins with Mary Toodles, Moki, and there you go. You both were good at that. Thanks. All right. Yeah, I would say that with the save files, it's much convenient to save your work when you want to go back to it. So yeah, that is interesting to know. All right, Bill said my first video game was Pong, a TV game. Oh, you played Pong. Wow. All right, Zelda didn't have the save either at first. Oh, yeah, yeah. I didn't know Zelda didn't have the save feature. All right, and what the game was called? Alex the Kid. Let's see. I've not heard of Alex the Kid. Let's see. Techno Bowl. That sounds fun. That sounds fun. That looks like a cool game, Shaza. That's cool. Track and field. Pong rips and bong rips. Alright. And Lord said Pong was memorizing when I was a kid. Mesmerizing, yes. Techno Bowl, Boo, and Jackson was unstoppable. Nice. We got the Atari and the game that came with it. It was Combat. Ah, okay. Oh yeah, I know about the. It's so fascinating to see how the games have evolved over time. I'd say I'm glad that they added the save feature to the games, because back in the past it would be you couldn't really save your work, especially if the power went out, it would be even more tedious. So that was a good feature for them to add. I'd say that the PlayStation 5 is probably way better than the original PlayStation we had, the first edition. Oh, okay. Okay, so you had an older version. Yeah, yeah. One game the PlayStation I played on was one of the latter. It was a PlayStation 3, I think. It was a PS3. And a PS5 is great, Saw says. Nice. Now, a list of some of the arcade games from the past, from I'd say the 90s, was Street Fighter 2. The groundbreaking game set modern standards for fighting games and kept arcades packed with players trying to master the moves of Hadoken. Puff Puff Pass. Nice. Nice. That's cool. What are you naming your cat? Mesmerizing. And combat takes are planes. Yeah, those are cool. But when they used to have flash games on the internet, they don't have to use flash games anymore on internet, but they used to have this tank game that we play on the computer. I played it back in a couple years ago. It was you would take a tank and you'd shoot it at another tank and just annihilate each other. That is something that we used to play like on the computer games, similar to an arcade. Passion said, back in the old days, there was one television per home too. You'd be halfway through a game, you can't save, then have to give it up because funniest home videos are coming up. Ah, that had to be a pain in the arse. Yeah. Certainly be a pain in the arse. So, I watched funniest home videos. I used to watch that on all on the Family Channel. All right. And Super Mario 3 was my favorite. Oh, I like the one I played was Super Mario World. That's what I'm familiar with. Oh, you like Super Mario Kart? Yeah. Oh, Mario Kart is something that I played a newer version of it, a latter version of it on the Wii and on the DS as well. Especially playing with friends. That was nice. I played Super Mario World on the Game Boy. I love that game. Okay, I love that game. And see, later they included Pac-Man with Atari. We paid full price for that dish. Matt says I played a lot of RPGs on NES that were based in ancient China. I'm a nerd. I would have played that, dude. That is so cool. I like that. There is some with ancient China. They have some history with extraterrestrials, or allegedly with the alien sightings. I always find interesting. Another thing that ancient China does. I like their ancient Chinese culture. It's pretty cool. Moki said, "I like Elwood for the movie Harvey." Okay. All right. It's also Super Nintendo. Okay. Matt says, "I was a Destiny of an Empire man myself, but they all had the same subject matter." Oh, yeah. All right. In Mortal Kombat mid 1992, the first installment introduced the grittier, more violent style of combat. It was followed by the event more polished, popular Mortal Kombat 2 midway 93, which added new characters and fatalities. All right. Tekken 3. This installment was nearly arcade perfect. It is port to PlayStation, is remembered for its deep combo system, side stepping mechanics, and 3D graphics. Yeah, the cats would like Pong. Yeah. Killer Instincts was midway 1994, while its home port was famously inferior to the arcade version. Was a spectacle, introduced popular combo systems and combo breaker mechanic. Lu Bu was a badass. If you know, you know. Yeah, Marvel. Yeah, Marvel. That's cool that they had Marvel games because the comics. Oh, I like Marvel comics, like the original comics. I like those, and they made them into movies later. Leisure Suits Larry. I have not heard of that one. Passion said, I remember fighting the log character to get better at Tekken combos. All right, and the other one is Marvel versus Capcom. Capcom, Crash, Clash of the Superheroes. That was one of them. The 80s were the best. Yeah. All right, let's see some more games that they had. Yeah, up here. Oh, I'll go this way. Okay, Daytona, USA. Okay, I will Google that, Moki. I'll pull it up right here. Okay, let's go down here this way. Okay, Leisure Suit Larry is an adult-themed comedy adventure video game series created by Al Lowe and first released in '87. The series centers on its main character, Larry Tarf, a middle-aged, balding, somewhat dorky man known for his white polyester leisure suit, gold chain, and unsuccessful attempts to seduce attractive ladies. All right, key aspects of the series: genre and gameplay. The original games were point and click or text passive graphic adventure games where players guide Larry through various locations like casinos, hotels, and resorts to find love, or at least romantic encounters. Moki said, I didn't appreciate the 80s and 90s when I was living through them. Scared. Humor and tone. The games are known for their blend of humor, double enders. Probably. Huh?
Double entendre.
Entendre.
Two different meanings, like it could mean some one thing and mean another thing. A double entendre.
Okay. Loki said she did good with Pac-Man.
Oh, I like Miss Pac-Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like them both.
And parodies of pop culture, distinguishing themselves from other adult-themed games of the era by focusing more on comedy than explicit context. Age verification. Due to their adult themes, the first games included age verification system asking a series of general knowledge questions to ensure a player was likely an adult.
I don't think if I knew they had video. I knew they had Pong, but that was before 1987.
Yeah, the era that we're speaking of is the 80s and 90s.
Oh, I knew they might have had them. I don't remember, but Pong was the 70s.
Right. Like they had, like, some people had the Atari.
Oh, I heard of that. Yeah, I know. I heard.
Protagonist. The primary character, Larry Topher, a later spin-off game, Leisure Suit Larry Magna Cum Laude, 2004, introduced college-age nephew Larry Lovage as the protagonist, though the original Larry Topher returned in later modern sequels. Nemo said he had the Atari. That's cool. Legacy. The series became one of the Sierra Entertainment's best-known franchises and a cult classic, selling over 10 million copies by 2011. The games have been praised for their humor and are a significant part of PC gaming history. Modern revival. The franchise was revived with modern point-and-click adventure games, including Leisure Suit, Wet Dreams Don't Dry, Leisure Suit Larry Wet Dreams Dry to 2020, and bringing Larry's 80s charm to the 21st century dating world. Oh, let's go this way. Talk about some more of them. Ah, yes. Here we go. I love to see the girls in guest jeans. Nice. Stupid millennials are trying to claim Beavis and Butthead as theirs negative. Oh, okay. All right. That was a funny show.
Yeah, Teresa liked that.
Oh, she liked that one?
And Ren and Stimpy.
And Rem, oh, I like Rem and Stimpy. I used to watch it in the other house down the street.
And she liked Beavis and Butthead also.
Okay, yes. Yes. And yeah, that was cool. So the people, yeah, Ren and Stimpy, that one was. They wouldn't show that stuff on TV now, probably, or at least on the kids channel. But that one was wild. Games really started going downhill once they removed the wood paneling. Oh yes, yes. The My aunt, she liked the Beavis and Butthead Moki shit. All right, the arcade racing games in '90s moved toward the 3D environments providing an unparalleled sense of speed. Daytona USA, the Sega 93, an evolution of early arcade racers. This stock car inspired game was a major hit. Salsa Moki, I would have chased you. Alright, Moki said, I wore skin tight jeans and band shirts, and my hair looked like Lita Ford. Nice. Facts. Moki was smoking. Right. Smoking hot. Right. So, that sounds cool. And Sauce says, Rita, you're smack right in the middle of the 80s, right? Nice, nice. And, yeah, very funny chat. Alright. Cruisin' USA. Cruisin' USA, 1994. This racing game let the players race across the United States in a variety of sports cars. You like pole position. Oh, nice. Nice. And, oh, you had a mullet. Interesting. Moki said she looked like a metal bunny. Oh, cool. Let's go here. Nemo says NHL 92 on Sega Genesis was a dope game. Oh, it was? Nice. Oh, mullets. Nice. I know about mullets from that movie, the Hannah Montana show, because of her father had a song about it. That's the only way I knew about it. All right, let's see. Let's go up here. Hair bands, right. Then I got a rat tail like my pic shows. Oh, okay, nice, nice. Interesting to see how the different hairstyles, evolved over time. Cruisin' USA, 94. This racing game let players race across the United States in a variety of sports cars. Ridge Racer Nokoba, 93. A key 3D racing game that started franchise still active today. Had pictures of Axl Rose all over your room. Nice. Nice. Sega Rally Championship. Sega Rally Championship 94, highly influential off-road racing game that became a landmark for the genre. Passion says, my dad has a mullet still, the only person in his house to use a hairdryer. Oh, cool. That's nice. Yeah. The hairdryer. Yeah. He's still rocking the style. Person much. Oh, it was cute when I was never though. And shout out to the cute Rita. The nice to have her on board. All right, Crazy Taxi. Crazy Taxi Saga 1999. The driving game put players in the role of a taxi driving racing against the clock for fares. Paris. Axel has had been bad plastic surgery and this sounds terrible, poor fellow. Oh, okay. I was in love with Axel Rose. Nice. Guns still tours. My uncle is into these types of bands and hairstyles and stuff. He didn't have a mullet, but he had very long hair. He still does. The one in England. They were into that stuff also. You like GNR music. Nice. Alright, everybody. See you all tomorrow. Okay, Moki. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll see you tomorrow. Alright. Beat 'em ups. The multiplayer side-scrolling beat 'em up games were a staple of the arcades and were particularly well suited for group play. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. In the time of Konami 1991, a popular 4-player side-scrolling title that improved the original TMNT arcade game. Yes, we're going to have a great Friday, a terrific Friday indeed. It's going to be great. Appetite for Destruction was a game changer. Oh, nice. Oh, you had the cassette tapes. Yeah, I think Rita looks great too. She was on here last Friday. Yeah, I agree with you, Sauce. The Aliens Angels are the most beautiful, indeed. All right, The Simpsons 91. I may have said that. By the way, I like watching The Simpsons growing up. That was a show that I liked. It was from an older show that was still on. I also had The Simpsons comics. X-Men. Yes, we are still here, Fifi. We're talking about music and arcade games from the 80s and 90s. Alright. The X-Men 92. The 6-player version of this game drew large crowds with large character sprites and co-op gameplay. Cadillacs and Dinosaurs 1993, a cult classic. A cult classic from 93. Interesting. Okay. Many other memorable arcade games utilized unique controls or represented other popular genres. Time Crisis. Time Crisis Namco 96. This game became the signature title for light gun shooters with unique foot pedal that allowed players to take cover. The House of the Dead. The House of the Dead 97, a popular light gun game that pitted players against hordes of zombies. The NBA Jam Midway 93, a fast-paced and over-the-top 2-on-2 basketball game featuring larger-than-life players and commentary. Oh, sorry, Knight, for hitting you. Okay, so... Alright, good night, Sauce. Thank you. See you tomorrow, buddy. And Rita, I know you're going to be logging off soon. Thank you for hanging out with us too, Rita, whenever you're ready to go. And Nemo says, at the end of the Tracy Ullman show, there was these funny-looking but cool-looking cartoon characters. I used to say they need to make a full-length cartoon show. I know exactly what you're talking about, and they should do that and should have done that, because I'll see things where I think there could be a complete series, a cartoon series on some character from a game or something small that could be made into something bigger. Yeah, I completely agree. Indeed. Yeah. And Bill says, I always wanted to play a racing game with steering wheel and gear shift. Yeah, those are fun. Oh, I didn't know Dance Revolution was from 99. I thought that was from the 2000s. Okay. That just seems so modern. Although 90s were not that long ago from the 2000s, they were like right next to each other. It's like 25 and 2015. Like that's basically like what it was for 2000s and 90s. It was like they're very close together. So but I thought it was a little bit newer than that. Interesting. Dance Revolution. Oh, you like Galactica 2, Judy? Nice. Yeah, that game was so fun. Oh, The Simpsons. Okay. Yes, I see what you're saying. And I'm glad that they did make it into a bigger franchise based off of the smaller, maybe some of the cartoons. Maybe there was like in the beginning, maybe been small, then they made it bigger. Well, I'm glad that they, obviously they made it into a bigger thing. So it is good that they made it the way they did because it really was a success. Passion says, I have always wanted to try a flight simulator with all the gamer accessories. I have played a World War II airplane game from World War II, like a bombing game, and on the Wii. But yeah, that is cool. What you're saying would be to try. Yeah. There is this little game thing that I had where you get like a little joystick and you press a button and it shoots out. It just makes a shooting noise. I used to play with that all the time, but it was just a little toy. It wasn't anything like a video game, but it was pretty fun. I know it was good at video games, not coordinated enough. Oh, okay. Understood. The Gauntlet Legends. Gauntlet Legends, Atari 98. An updated classic fantasy action game. It offered 4-player cooperative dungeon crawling. Yeah, and Judy says that the Galactica could have been a game that Rita could have tried. Yeah, that one I'd say was... Yeah, you had to be fast, but that one was, I think, good for people that may have issues with other games. I think it would be a good way to get into it. Yeah, I enjoy that one. All right. Let's see. The 90s saw a range of innovative, immersive arcade controllers designed to provide unique gameplay and experiences that home consoles couldn't easily replicate. All right, so for instance, the Dance Revolution, the Dance Pad, introduced by in '98, this game, the floor mounted dance pad with arrows that players had to step on with the music, it became a worldwide phenomenon and defining example of the rhythm games. So that was the innovation of that time. Okay, Time Crisis foot pedals. For one of those, the light gun shooter series use a unique foot pedal mechanism. Players press the pedal to come out of the cover attack, release it to duck back down, reload, and tactical physical dimensions to the gameplay. You know, one thing about games I'll see at arcades is you could sit in a seat and use the foot pedals like you're actually driving a vehicle. That I think that was a cool touch to it. And these are just basically some accessories they added in the 90s to these different arcade games to make them more feel like you're in the game. Motion seats, cockpit cabinets. High-end arcade experiences often featured a full motion cabinets. Alright, take care, Bill. Thank you for hanging out with us. Good night. Cabinets gameplay like Daytona USA 93 and Virtua Racing 90s, and steering wheels and pedals with cabinets that would physically move and tilt to simulating the G-force movement of a real car, providing an immersive experience. Okay, Samba de Amiga Maracas. This rhythm game, first in arcades and then ported to the Dreamcast, used motion-sensitive or maraca controllers. Players had to shake the maracas at different heights, low, medium, high, and the time with Latin-inspired music. Oh yeah, probe that like button for the spaceship. Thank you. Alright, there's a bass fishing game. That was pretty cool. Fishing rod controller. These cabinets featured a specialized controller that mimicked a fishing rod, complete with real players cranked a real fish in, creating the unique situation experience. Alright, Passion says the arcades were desperately fighting to stay alive by the mid-90s. Why visit an arcade to have fun when you can do it at home instead? Ah, yes. Yeah, they had to compete with the games that were at home. Absolutely. Oh, okay, Judy. That's cool. He liked the fishing games. All right, there's Brave Firefighter House. Firefighters Fire Hose. They had that at Chuck E. Cheese. That was my favorite one at Chuck E. Cheese. The game featured a controller designed to look and function like the real fire hose, which players use to aim and spray water at virtual fires in the game. House of the Dead light guns. While the light guns were common, the sheer scale, a design of the same cabinets, and their accompanying gun peripherals became synonymous with 90s arcade horror experiences. The realistic gun model enhanced the immersion of the shooting down zombies. Yeah, that must have been one of the first zombie games. Right. Track balls and spinners. While originating earlier, trackballs used the game like Golden Tee Golf, spinners like Tempest 2000 remained popular in the 90s for specific genres, offering a level of precise rolling motion difficult to replicate with traditional joysticks. NBA Jam, oversized buttons, and trackpad like joysticks, while using standard inputs designed the NBA Jam 93 cabinet with the large buttons, often dedicated Jam button because the iconic for its fast pacing over the top gameplay. That is some interesting facts about the 90s experience in the arcades when they were trying to keep up with people at home that could just get a Atari or things like that. There's lots of nostalgia for when the first Xbox and the first PlayStations were released. All right, and yeah, those are known for their innovations. There are arcades today still, but it's not as like it used to be. Especially now, you could play a game on your phone, which is incredible. Like, you know, it's the technology they have now is really has gone a far way. So yeah, now people can play games in their smartphones, but the arcades are still pretty cool. At laser tag, they had some arcades there. That was something that the people liked growing up. Also, all right, let's see here. That is true. The teacher did win, and I believe she rightfully won that case because she certainly shouldn't have been attacked like that. And yeah, she was, I think, a million or something like that. Yeah. I'm glad she was able to do it. And then the pastor trial, they had some insane testimony today. That was quite wild, I hear. And then she's wondering if she'll ever get the money. That's a good question. That's a good question. Yes, indeed. 10 million. Yeah. I thought it could have, it was a million or 10 million. I was pretty much off on that one, but I did remember it from earlier. But thank you for clarifying it was 10 million. Yeah, I don't know if she's going to get that money. Yeah, I do not know. I can't guarantee that. I'm scared. Oh, they got another court date? Okay, thank you for info. First Xbox came out in 2001. It will be drug out. Oh, okay. Yeah. The PlayStation came out in 93. In Australia, 95 November. Europe, September 29, 2000. September 29, 95. Okay, so that is interesting right there. And yeah. Let's see, when did the Game Boy come out? Yeah, you see, a lot of times with some trials they get drug out, and they take a long time. Especially with appeals. Original Game Boy was first released Nintendo in the late 80s and early 90s in various regions. Japan in 89, North America in 89, and Europe in the 90s. Okay. Some little bit of a history about when they released it. Now I'm curious with DSi. Not the DSi, the regular DS. Alright, and the DS is 2004. Japan. North America 2004. Australia 2005. Europe 2005. The Wii was in 2006. All over the world. Alright. And alright, so those are some facts about the games in the arcades. Some kind of backstory about them that I was curious about and I shared with all of you. Alright. Now, next part, right here. Alright, so at this point in time, we have come to the conclusion of the live stream. We finished the topics for tonight. Oh, and just in time, Rita says, well, everybody, I have to get to bed. See you all soon. Trial tomorrow. Okay, yes. See you at the trial tomorrow. And Judy said, I watched again. It have another court to make the ruling legal. Oh, okay, that's why they're doing it, to make the ruling legal. Okay. Alright, so... Alright, so thank you all for coming to the stream tonight. We have reached the conclusion of the stream. We finished all topics. And hope you all have a good evening, day, afternoon, wherever you all are. And peace. Alright. Yes. It's perfect timing to end the stream, and thank you all. Later to you, Nemo, Passion, Judy, and everyone else watching, lurking, listening. Okay, thank you all for coming earlier. Thank you all for those that were here earlier, those that are here now, those that see it later. Okay, peace. All right, good night, Rita.